What's up? What's up? What's up? Hello, everyone. So we're going to give everybody a minute to join. But I just want to say that the big news of the day is that ChatGPT's garlic model has just gone live. So for people who don't know, there was this rumored model that was supposed to be ChatGPT's Gemini killer. And it looks like it has just gone live as of 10 a.m. today, so about an hour ago. So we're really excited to test that out. It's not available yet, which is actually convenient for our live stream. So we're not just like, itching to get our hands on it. But hopefully with the rolling deployment, it'll hopefully be live by the time we get to the end of this. And we're definitely going to test it out. So yeah, while that's going, you might have noticed Corey is not here right now. Corey will hopefully be able to join us towards the end, but he's letting me run this marketing live solo, which is exciting. So we'll see how it goes. All right. So what I'm going to do here is, while everybody is piling in, I'm going to give a little spiel, and then we'll get straight to Jonathan, because we're going to have a tight schedule today. We have 4 amazing guests that are joining us, which is really exciting. But I just wanted to share a little bit about why we're doing a marketing showcase and just my general thoughts on marketing in an AI world. So I'll just kind of jump into that. So I want to ask everybody, so today we're talking about a marketing showcase, and we're going to talk about 4 tools to help marketers beyond the basics. So when I say basics, how many people, sound off in the chat, use ChatGPT or similar AI to help them with their campaigns? This is good. Let's just see if anybody commenting. All right. Not instant feedback. That's fine. So when I say basics, what I'm talking about is like using ChatGPT to write copy, or for example, using Kling or Runway or some of those other tools to create video assets, Nano Banana to create images. What I think is important to remember is that beyond those capabilities, being able to create content with AI, there's a whole lot of other stuff that marketing includes. So for these 4 companies, they are expanding on those basic capabilities. And I'm going to explain about why I like each of these companies and why I invited them to join right before we begin each presentation. So we're going to start today with Jonathan from AdOmni and his Jeen AI platform, whose platform I got to demo recently and I really, really liked. Why? Because I want you to consider the changing marketing landscape with AI. As AI becomes more an embedded part of our lives, I think there will be 2 things that will happen. Number 1, less people will be going to Google directly to find what they need. They'll be accessing information in the internet directly through their chat interfaces. Some of you might already do this right now. This reduces the value of native Google ads. And in fact, Google mentioned that it will launch Gemini ads in 2026. But what about the 1 billion people who use ChatGPT? How will you reach them? OpenAI will eventually launch ads, but it won't happen right away. And then the second thing I think that is happening, so there's the ad landscape that we know today is changing. And then there's a larger thing that I think will happen that will play out slowly, then all at once, is less people being online all the time. Now, this might sound counterintuitive, but hear me out. As AI can handle more and more work for us, the need to be butts down, seats in chair all the time reduces as well. So I think this has negative implications for Meta unless they figure out how to monetize their glasses as a chatbot agent that completes purchases and takes like a cut of revenue upon purchase, which I think they are working on, because we're not going to have ads in our glasses all the time. I think that's a little intrusive. So then how will you reach people? What will happen when more and more computing is done either in the background or ambiently? There's also a non-zero portion of society who just wants nothing to do with AI. How do you reach them? Obviously what I predicted is not going to happen overnight, but I do think it will happen over the next 10 years. And I think that AI will improve targeting and return on ad spend for Meta and Google, which will probably increase the ROI that you get from spending there. But they still have a duopoly, and that makes it expensive to advertise there. Many marketing tools we're showing today are going to address all of these problems. But the reason why I like Jonathan's tech, and I think we'll get to him in just a minute, is specifically it's for out-of-home advertising, which is a really cool platform that lets you buy in physical spaces where people actually are, which will become increasingly important due to those two trends that I just shared, because people are going to be not going to Google right away, and they're also not going to be in front of their computer all the time. So how do you reach them? AdOmni is one of those plays, and they've been doing this since 2015, and they now have access to over 1 million digital screens, which is really awesome. But what makes their Jeen AI special is that it turns what used to be a complicated weeks-long process into something that you can do in 5 minutes. You literally tell the AI your goals and budget, and it instantly plans your entire campaign across digital billboards, gas station screens, shopping centers, wherever your audience physically is in the real world, all over the world. And the best part is you can launch it with a credit card without any contracts or minimum spends for like any budget. So they raised 50 million, including from the chain smokers, which I had no idea they had a venture firm. So that's cool. And Jeen AI helps you do all of this through a chat interface. I've seen this and it's great. All right, Jonathan, you are all teed up. Are you ready to start?
I sure am. Hey, Grant. Great to see
Hey,
you.
thanks for joining. Wow, that was a lot of pressure for me to hold court for 5 minutes on my own. So I appreciate
Hey,
you.
hey, I'd say well done. The one man show.
Thank you, thank
Um,
you.
and on a big day too. I didn't realize that the code name for the new ChatGPT was garlic.
Yeah,
Um,
what are your thoughts
that's
on
a good
that?
one. That's a good
Yeah.
one. Yeah, I mean, I guess just invoking the whole vampire killer
Yep.
situation. I don't know if that's what they're going for, but
I would
yeah,
not be shocked if
very
that was the impetus.
yeah. Code Red is very curious to see what happens right
I've
after Code
started to
Red in
I've
the AI
started to
world.
think that Code Red is like for Santa Claus and that they're doing a 12 Days of Christmas. Although the Vine hasn't been 12 Days of Christmas today, so I don't know if they are actually doing that, but we'll
Yeah,
see.
I feel like the tone from last year was fun and silly and whatever, and this year it's more of like we got some catch up to do, and we got to
Yeah,
just ship some really good product. So,
yeah, I think
like
that's
you, I'm
right.
also waiting for my console to update and start playing with 5.2 as well, personally.
Yeah. All right. Well, I ate into a bunch of your time here, so why don't we jump right into it? Thanks for being
All
flexible with
right,
that. Mhm.
fantastic. I'm going to share my screen. And hi, everyone. My name is Jonathan Gudai, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of AdOmni. And I'm excited to share with you a little bit about our business and our platform. And instead of just telling you about it, we're also going to spend a little bit of time actually walking through what it looks like to use our AI assistants to plan digital home campaigns in seconds with expert
Awesome.
level precision. Are you seeing my screen, Grant?
We're seeing it. So you're all good.
All
So
right.
we're seeing
All right,
exactly what you're
beautiful.
saying. Yeah.
So, as you mentioned in your opener, a lot of advertisers are buying Google ads for search and also Meta ads for Instagram and Facebook. And at Adomni, we actually cater toward the physical world. So we have over 1 million connected digital screens, everything from large roadside billboards and spectaculars, all the way to very nuanced place-based screens like in bars and restaurants and on college campuses and gas stations and gyms. So it's a very diverse set of inventory. And over the last 10 years, we built a technology that enables us to plug into the unsold space on these screens and enable digital marketers to plan and buy campaigns with no minimum spends, with precision and ease. And so that's what Adomni is, just to kind of get a little reference.
Love it. Oop, Jonathan, it looks like you might have cut out there. Folks in the chat, let me know if you can still hear me. But yeah, it looks like Jonathan might have cut out. Can everybody still hear me or no? All right, let me just message him real quick and let him know. So what he was showing there was a map of all of their screens that they have available and all the different locations that you can get to. I'm sure he'll rejoin in a second. So just letting y'all know about that. Someone said he must be on Wi-Fi. I can actually show until he gets back. I think I'll show Jeen AI because I think that's pretty cool. I will share my screen here until he gets back. Gotta love the fun of live streams. Okay, let's do just this tab. All right. Eka, my screen's up when you're ready to share it. So this is Jeen. Oh no, this is not Jeen AI. That's the wrong one. Here we go. Yeah, so this is them. So you can talk to it here, which is really cool. And so basically what it does is it helps you run the campaign for you. Ah, Jonathan, you're returned.
I'm back. I am back. Sorry for
Okay,
the
great.
delay.
All good, all good.
Hopefully you're still seeing my screen.
Go ahead and share your screen now.
Okay, let me stop
We're good.
sharing and I will start sharing again. Okay.
Are you on a plane?
I'm actually on a train.
Oh, okay.
I
That's awesome.
unexpectedly had a work trip, and they had great Wi-Fi up until literally we started here. So apologies everyone for the interruption.
All good.
What I was about to show everyone is our Jeen AI solution. Are you guys seeing my screen? Okay, cool. So here we are. Here's our ads platform, and it is built for brands and agencies to plan and launch campaigns on digital out-of-home screens. And so in the top of the navigation, we have this new Jeen AI campaign assistant. And so Grant, I wanted to ask you if you had any preferred brand that we can use for this demo, or I'm happy to also just kind of throw one in there myself.
Yeah, let's ask the chat if you have anything to share, throw it out. But for me, I heard recently that you started working with Paramount Plus, right? Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so why don't we start with Paramount Plus, unless we get another request from the chat for a brand.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. So if you're Paramount Plus, and I don't know if any of you guys are fans of the show Landman, but they just came out with the second season. And Paramount Plus is trying to just remind everyone that there's a new season out and to either subscribe or watch the show. So I could say I am a marketer at Paramount Plus and want to promote the new season of Landman.
Got some Landman fans in the chat.
Billy Bob Thornton is the best. What do you recommend for a campaign strategy? So you can be very open-ended like that. We also do have pre-made templates, so you can come in and like choose from specific pre-made ones. But I'm going to go with that open-ended one.
Could we say specifically, like, if there's a geography we're looking to target, like we're trying to target, demos in, I don't know, Los Angeles, for example?
100%. Yep, you sure can. So the way that Jeen works is it's similar to popular LLMs you've used in the past, where you can ask open questions, it'll give you text answers. But we've trained this on 10 years of historical campaign data and also expertise from campaign planners and strategists who've done this hundreds or thousands of times. So it's basically saying that of all the screen types we have, and we're talking about 40 different screen types, 1 million screens, it would recommend digital billboards, spectaculars, movie theaters, and bar restaurants. And then it describes also a little bit about why. So you have a nice little mix here. And then to your point, you can say, I care most about New York and Los Angeles, maybe. We'll just do that. And so now you really could kind of say and do anything, but what it's doing now, it's I want to see the available screens in those city limits, right? So we're
Right.
really focused on not the state of New York, but the city. So it was doing some clarification on what I really want. And what's really cool about what it's doing now, it's actually pulling the inventory from our system. So for those recommended screen types, there's 1,153 locations. This is the
Wow.
cost per thousand. Here's the kind of max impressions. So there's a lot of scale of what we can buy. And we created it as an addition to the platform. So it's not just this like third-party separate tool. Now you're going to go into companion mode where you have on the right side all that information, like the number of screens, the pricing information, all that good stuff. And then over here we have the map where we could fly into New York, let's say, and you can actually see the different screens that you would be able to target based upon the recommended set. And so like we can click on one of those, and that's a bar screen in a place called Reservoir in Manhattan.
Awesome.
And so it's all fully transparent. Now, a lot of people don't know about budgets or don't know about audiences. So we might say, like, what audience targeting do you recommend? Because we could even further refine it beyond just location to say, of these locations, which has a higher concentration of the audience I'm trying to target.
Right.
And this is doing, it's pulling in from like our audience intelligence system, Audience IQ, and it's trying to say, okay, young digeratis, so urban, affluent, tech savvy, kind of like your audience, sounds like, would be a good audience.
Right on.
The cosmopolitans, and so these are like, these are a few of like thousands of segments that exist that people have to usually like hand pick. So we're recommending
Right.
what those are. And by the way, you can see photos, you can see kind of which locations, and then you would say, I need assistance with budget. Um, and we know that Landman kind of just came out, so maybe we give it a little bit more, feedback. How long do you want the campaign to run? Let's say we'll go from like December 15th to January 15th. We'll do like a 1 month flight. Um,
We had a good question in
and
the
so
chat
it
as
has
well,
this directive. Okay,
which
yeah,
is
please fire away. Well, I'm
yeah,
done.
can you target an audience by profession, by trade, or skill sets? It's kind of interesting.
Yes, you can. And it's going to be both a combination of specific locations. So if you knew that, you wanted to target, I don't know, home builders, then
Yeah.
maybe like Home Depot would be a good place. So you can also say, I want to surround Home Depot within 1 mile. What screens are available? And then it's going to take that, and we have a partner that does like 19 million different points of interest in their database. Think about like Google Places, um,
Yeah.
where it looks like Home Depot's. Can you specify which Home Depot? Oh, whether I want a location. Any Home Depot in New York, or I'll say California.
I
And
like
then
that it
I'll
asks
layer that in.
follow-up questions like that. That's good.
Yeah, it's very conversational. It's almost like you have an expert search strategist at your fingertips, and so now it's doing the more complex thing, which is looking through the entire state. I bet you there's hundreds of Home Depots, and it's going to draw micro fences around those stores, and then it's going to only include the screens that are within a 1 mile radius of the stores. And so like this is something that if you were to hire an agency or if you're a brand that hasn't really invested in digital out of home before, this would take days or weeks to get these kind of answers.
Right.
And there's also a price component to it where with some, going to the media owners or going to agencies, you have to spend thousands, tens of thousands just to even launch a campaign. And with our platform, you can say, I just want to reach, people around Home Depots between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Monday to Friday. And it could be hyper specific with any budget, and you put your credit card in, and literally you're creating a campaign here. So here, let's go take a look at this one. So it just updated, and so it did generate a kind of a new set because we shifted our targeting parameters.
Right.
And we'll give it a second for it to load here. And check this out. So you're in LA, right, Grant?
Yeah, I am.
Those black dots are all our Home Depots. So
Oh
you click on
wow.
one of those. That's on Beaumont, in Beaumont, California. Um,
Oh, what about
and so
Glendale?
and so like
That's where
in
I am.
literally seconds, you're in Glendale. Okay, so let's go
Yeah.
a little bit east
I know
of
the Home Depot there. We'll see if we got it.
Anaheim. Yeah, Anaheim. Um, is it in this kind of area?
No, I'm further north. Yeah.
Further
Yeah.
north, further north. Okay, my geography is a little bit. I live in Las
No,
Vegas,
all good.
everyone. So if you
Yeah.
want to do a Vegas thing, I definitely can help you with that.
Yeah, there you go.
Um,
Right there. Glendale in the top left.
Glendale, Glendale. Am I
That's
missing
fine.
it?
We don't have to waste time with this.
Yeah. Okay. Here's
There's a
one,
local Home
and so
Depot.
we're surrounding those stores. Um,
Yeah, that's
but yeah,
awesome.
so the cool thing is when you're done, you click on create campaign, and it loads it into your AdOmni account. So like what we just built is shareable, where you can then launch it if you want to upload your ads. You can share it with your clients if you're an ad agency. We also have this pretty cool feature that's a companion to Jeen AI, which is our mock-up generator.
Hmm.
And so with this one, like a lot of times you want to see what it's going to look like in these different environments, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm Paramount Plus and you're building a proposal for them, um, I could come in here. I'm going to choose the ads. So just bear with me. It's loading.
While that's loading, we got a comment. Perfect for targeting locations around trade shows for hyper-specific targeting. Love this. That's a great use of this. What a good idea.
Yes, that's exactly right. And select these. These are ads that I had kind of already downloaded
Perfect.
and uploaded. And then I click on the generate mockups and check this out.
No
It's going to
way.
take all of our different venue types, screen types, and it's going to show you what it looks like in the actual environment so that you could then share that with your client or share that with your boss and be like, hey, here's what our ad would look like on these really amazing screens. And so give it a second. So it's everything from CTV, where you can be on Amazon Prime Video, to an apartment building, to like this is what it would look like in a bar restaurant.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so very versatile, um, and
Totally.
really meant for self-service usage. And then we also have a managed services team where we can work with advertisers to help them with their first few campaigns if they wanted to have a professional do it with them. So it's really up
Cool.
to whatever the marketer has.
And you
So
can
yeah,
correct
so
me.
I know that
Go
we
ahead.
wanted to do a quick one. I'm happy to open it up for questions.
Yeah. What questions do people have? I have one to start. You can technically have it help you like set the campaign as well, right? So once you have it set, you can ask Gene to basically like, okay, let's run this. Yeah, it's great.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not just for planning and strategy. You actually get to build the campaign that you would then launch once you have the creative uploaded.
Yeah, because I think you showed me that when we did a demo where
Yeah,
basically I said, okay, so it can just run this for me now, and you were like, yep. um, what I like
exactly.
about this,
Like
what I
we
like
t
about this too, is that you can do it with any budget. Huh? I think there might be a delay. Sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, any budget, and I saw a question come in about measurement and reporting. So for larger size campaigns, we can do add tracking tags to your mobile app or your website. And with that, we can actually give you performance analytics like website visits or downloads or conversions. And so that does enable you to have some feedback on which creative is working or which channel is working, um, even though they're not clickable, right? It's a digital billboard or it's a television. We do gather mobile device IDs to infer households, and then from there we're able to kind of look at the laptops and your mobile phones to understand, behavior for conversions.
Yeah, that's huge because that was one of my questions. Because I was learning about out-of-home advertising for the first time recently when we talked about this, and I was asking, I was like, well, how do you track, who's seen it and if it's converted? Like, how do you know you're spending wisely? So that's key that y'all do that.
Totally. Yeah, and on the website, and on the footer, you'll see reporting as one of the options. Maybe I can take you there. And we actually
Sure.
do show the kinds of things that we can measure. So if you click on reports, this gives you like our standard report of like how much you've spent and the kinds of impressions that have been delivered. But then we also have these advanced reports where that the person in the chat who asked about A/B testing, these would be the ones you'd want to turn on so that you can actually measure either foot traffic to a store or digital conversion type metrics.
We got another
And we partner
question
with one of the
from.
biggest firms called LiveRamp for that.
Cool. Awesome. Good to know. We got another
Yeah.
question from Meredith Baskis, who asks, can Jeen optimize the content for different screens?
Great question, Meredith. We will recommend the creative strategy for each screen, and in a future version of Jeen, so 2026, it'll actually build those different ads for you. So as VO3 and as Nano Banana keep expanding, we've been excited to be able to play with it, and it's kind of ready. It's kind of ready for prime time. This is just kind of connecting it into the actual workflow.
Yeah.
So you might have one ad for a bar that has a different messaging than what you're going to see when you're on your television at home for CTV.
That's awesome.
Great question.
Yeah, what I like about it, what it seems like you've set up here is you've set up your platform to grow with the capabilities of the models. So as the models get better, you have more functionality that you can give to everybody who uses your platform.
That's right. We're shipping out enhancements of Jeen almost every 2 weeks, every 2 to 4 weeks. So it's not just new models that are coming out. Like we're training it based upon like the features that have been requested by our clients, and it's kind of fun where you can take people who have no experience with marketing, and literally in like a 1 hour session, you can be launching an expert level campaign, and without AI, it's really hard to actually pull that off.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the latest is on Meta or Google's tools, but I don't know if they have a chatbot that helps you set up all of your campaigns. I mean, do you know if they do?
They do have some AI tools, and I know Mark Zuckerberg kind of famously predicted that by, I think it's end of 2026 or early 2027, all you'll need to provide is your brand and your budget, and Meta's AI is going to do that for you. I think we're going to be right there with them, but just for the physical world, for screens in the real world, and it's exciting because I think that the best is still yet to come with agentic workflows. But what it ends up being is you get better, more quality, relevant content, more targetable, more flexible, and ultimately you don't need to have a whole team of agency people doing it for you. You can move at the speed of your own ideas.
I love it. I think that's great. Let's go ahead and throw Jonathan's AdOmni links into the chat here for anyone who wants to check it out. Any last questions for Jonathan? Because it looks like we have our next guest ready to go. Jonathan, also thank you for being flexible. I know your time got a little cut short for technical reasons. So anything else you want to share as well before you go, please do.
No, thank you. And I would love to come back on in a few months and then be able to show what Meredith was looking for, that creative content, builder. So when that comes out, maybe we could do this again.
Oh yeah, definitely. We'll definitely have you back because I'm a big fan of this tool. Actually, for people who don't know, Jonathan giving me this demo inspired me to put together this live stream because I thought this was so cool. I was like, this is something you got to show people in real life so that they can see how it works. So yeah.
Amazing.
Thanks for coming on.
Amazing. Well, thank you for having me, and keep on sharing the good stuff, Grant. I'm a big fan of what you guys do. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. So our next guest, we're going to go ahead and bring on in just a moment. So you heard the pitch. You heard my pitch for what happens as AI becomes a more embedded part of our online experience. It will basically curate what we see as a central entry point to the internet, and it will do more things on our behalf, freeing us up from being stuck in chairs all day. That means marketing to AI is more important than ever. Well, that's what our next guest, James, and his technology at Profound is trying to help you solve. How to reach the bots. James and his team have raised over 58 million total, I believe, most recently 35 million from Sequoia. I ranted a little bit too much on the last one, James, so I'm going to go ahead and let you just jump into this. And yeah, tell us what you're doing at Profound.
Yeah, hey Grant. Great to be on here. I've been a fan for a while, so it's cool to get the invite. Yeah, you
That's
guys do
awesome.
good work. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm James. I'm co-founder, CEO at Profound. I mean, there's a lot to say. I think if you think about capitalism over the last 100 or so years, search search engines, maybe search engine referring to Google,
Hmm.
probably is the biggest outcome in the history of capitalism,
I
individual
could see that.
outcome. Yeah, I think Google search accounts for about 200, roughly 200 of Google's 300 and something billion in annual revenue. Um, and the way in which we search is now changing really for the first time in 25 years. And we're entering this era of the internet where you can just talk to the internet and it talks back to you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm building a company called Profound with my co-founder Dylan, and yeah, we believe that how your brand and products are spoken about, or how they're surfaced by AI platforms like ChatGPT or Gemini, and eventually how they're interfaced with, will become not just an important pillar of marketing. I think it will become, essentially the primitive of marketing will be how AI surfaces your brand and products and services. Um, so yeah, we're building a marketing platform for this new era of the internet. We are 15 and a half months into our journey. Yeah, we launched in the summer of 2024. Khosla Ventures led our seed round, Kleiner Perkins and NVIDIA led our Series A. As you mentioned, Sequoia led our Series B in the summer. Yeah, we work with the biggest companies in the world. We work with Fortune 10, Fortune 100 enterprises, thousands of marketers around the world now rely on our platform. And yeah, we help companies understand but also control how they show up in these answer engines.
It's
The way in
awesome.
which, the way in which we do that is we build an understanding. We collect the data around how answer engines talk about brands and surface products and services. But then the cool thing is like a sort of like double. It's like a double whammy where, because of the birth of reasoning models, it turns out if you collect tons of data and insights and you push them through reasoning models, it turns out reasoning models are actually really good at building insights and suggestions of things to do. So we can actually, do the work inside of our platform.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. You are building something that people desperately need, especially for all the reasons that you just explained. Like the bots are the future. You got to market to the bots to reach the people. They're going to become the gatekeepers. Right now, it's the big tech platforms, but it'll be the big bots here, not in no time at all.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a nomenclature or a sort of like people are going to change how they think about bots. I think when we say, if I said my website is being crawled by bots, it's got like instantly negative connotations.
You're right.
And, and I think when we say bot, most of the time we're referring to like indexers or spiders that are just the real life comparison that I'd probably use would be like comparing them to like a Roomba. Do you know, one of those vacuums that kind of bounces
Mhm.
around the room mindlessly?
Yeah.
As a user agent visit is very different in that, if I ask ChatGPT a question about the new Ray-Ban glasses, what's happening on the back end is ChatGPT is sending a bot in real time to rayban.com on my behalf and gathering the information from their web pages, pulling all the product information, brand information that it deems relevant from the Ray-Ban site, alongside of maybe a few other websites. Maybe it's going to visit, Reddit or Dick's Sporting Goods or something, and it will go and pull the information for me and just generate a web page on my behalf,
Yeah.
which we refer to as an answer. But an answer is just a web page. Like a conversation with ChatGPT, to an extent, is just a new web page.
You're right. It's just reformatting the text, and in theory, and to what Profound is building, you want the right text to show up when asked. Basically, you want to build the right web page.
Yeah, exactly. Because if I go, if I share my screen and
yeah, let's do it.
I say, tell me about Grant from. I asked the question. It's
cool.
Yeah, it's gone. So it's visited your YouTube page, your own website, to build this answer, and this answer, I can send to you on your side now. So if I send that in the chat, studio chat there, that is a web page.
You're right.
And
it's sort of like my about me.
Yeah. I think it's very interesting to think of it like a web page, because if you think about what, maybe as an example here as well, if I share my screen again, say, I always think this is like interesting.
It's basically the exact same thing.
Yes, these like word walls,
Yeah.
So I think what we're going to see over time is we're going to see these pages. We're going to see these pages that are being generated become much more interesting. We're going to see generative video get formed in real time. We're going to see generative UI, generative UX, in the same way that we saw the internet kind of become so much more than just HTML on a page.
Totally. And it'll be happening inside the chat window.
Yeah, but then the question is when if I'm asking that question about Ray-Ban, where does it go? Where does ChatGPT go to answer that question about Ray-Ban? Because if I'm asking about Grant from the Neuron, like, you don't care that much, but Ray-Ban have thousands of SKUs. They have lots of information that they want to be surfaced, and they want to control that narrative. So it's going to open up the Ray-Ban's relationship with the end consumer is being disintermediated by answer engines like ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok. So it creates this new form of marketing, which I think people compare to SEO, but in some respects it's very similar. Like, there's tons of shared muscle groups in that you're building for algorithms, etc. But in other respects, I think it's so much bigger, so much more interesting, because you really are creating content that's designed for bots rather than humans. Not to be discovered by bots, but I mean to be consumed by bots.
Right.
The bot is the consumer.
What's different in the approach, in your opinion, between those two things?
Well, I think philosophically, if you're it's this idea that the end consumer's opinion is not being shaped in the moment that your content is being consumed. Is being shaped when the LLM reformats it and spits it out. So really, you're playing a game of telephone now.
Totally. Yeah.
And you're trying to create content for bots to easily digest, understand, and it's a very different. If I were creating a web page for you to find interesting, Grant, I would focus on a quippy opening hook to like get to capture your interest. And like, I know that you've got like I know I say this respectfully, but you've probably got like we all do, like a TikTok brain, and like we've got low attention span. And so I'm looking at the imagery, I'm looking at the opening hook. There's so much that I'm appealing to your humanity. Whereas if it's a bot, I'm going to cram as much as I can into the metadata. I'm going to think about the URL, which is being perused as a way to understand if the content is worth consuming. Like think about, as a human, you don't pay a ton of attention to the URL, right? Of a site. Like a bot these bots evaluate based on the URL.
Right.
The metadata plays a much bigger role here. And I'm not going to open with some kind of superfluous storytelling. I'm going to open with just get straight to the point, give the information that's needed.
Yeah.
And eventually, eventually these bots will transact as well. So, it's interesting. Yeah, there's a lot that's going to
change. We've actually had some really interesting questions in the chat. I don't know if we want to jump in. If you want to show us the platform, we can jump into that. And then we'll address maybe some of these at the end, because I've got 3 here that we want to talk on.
Yeah, I mean, the platform, there's a lot to it. I think probably the best way for people to understand the platform would just be to go to our website. I'm sorry to be that guy. It's just, it would take me like half an hour. What's going to end up happening is either I'll do a really crappy job and everyone will not understand what we do, or I will end up taking the entirety of the rest of our conversation on a product demo. So maybe best if you just share our website, people can see what we do.
Sure. Yeah, we can just turn this into a chat. That's fine. Sure. So then why don't we open with Roberta's comment. James, what's your take on how when ads will come to the LLMs themselves? I can add some context here. We know Gemini is doing this in 2026. Google has told advertisers it's doing this. We don't know when, we don't know the form factor, but we know that that's happening. What's your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are that generative advertising, and notice I say generative advertising, in a conversational interface, perfectly tied in to the exact moment that the human is most open to receiving advertising because of the rich context of the conversational interface, is going to be an unlock in advertising that none of us are expecting. I think it's going to be so monumental.
Could I ask a clarifying question? Does that look something to the effect of like just-in-time manufacturing, but just-in-time advertising, where they're like about to buy?
Yeah, on the fly. Yeah, I think it will be. I think it's going to take a lot. Like, it won't come. I don't expect it's going to kind of be a sort of overnight. I don't think Google's going to ship something, or ChatGPT will necessarily ship something and it will all change overnight. I think there has to be some sort of like attitude change from marketers who have typically really wanted to control the narrative. Google has a product called AI Max, which has kind of quietly been sitting on it. Like, people talk about it, but not that much, where essentially what you do is you whitelist your website. So I would whitelist the Profound website to Google AI Max, and it can go and take any of the content it wants from my website and essentially do exactly what you're saying, like create ads on the fly based on what it knows from user intent. I think that's been cool, and it's interesting to see them do that in traditional search, but you don't capture a ton of intent from a Google search. I think the average search term is like 3.5 words long or something. I mean, don't hold me over the fire on that stat, but I think it's like roughly that. Whereas if you think of your conversations with a platform like ChatGPT or Gemini, there's so much rich context there. And there's the nature of conversation turns, etc., that I think it's going to be really exciting when ads are generated on the fly, tailored to your tone of voice and the type of conversation you're having at the exact moment when it makes the perfect sense to do so. I think brands are going to have to loosen their grip a little bit on how they show up and just basically let AI do it for them, based on some guidelines and based on like approved vernacular.
Got it. What do you think about how can you tell when chat is actually scrolling and making stuff up? I've caught it making up stuff, and when asked, it admitted to making it up. I guess let's frame this in the context of, say I'm using Profound and I'm trying to control the narrative of how my stuff comes up so that there's not any hallucinations in the final output. What would be your advice?
I mean, some people would just call it, web tool, or like grounding is what some kind of SEO folks refer to it as. But I mean, really, that was a lot from what I understand. That was a big driver of Perplexity innovating this kind. Because here's the thing to understand, right? Is we refer to ChatGPT or Gemini now as an answer engine.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nuance there in that really what we're saying is it's not an LLM. The LLM is a component of the answer engine. So you have the pre-trained large language model that is, trained on a huge corpus of data, which is essentially a snapshot of all information on the internet and beyond.
Right.
In that
Compressed.
moment. Yeah, everything that exists in that moment in time, it's basically trained on.
Yeah.
And it costs billions of dollars and takes months or maybe weeks now to pre-train, and then you have RLHF, and you do the post-training, and it's this one big moment of you create the large language model. Now, when ChatGPT first launched, we were querying the large language model directly. So you'd ask a question, and remember, you'd get that response where you'd say, who's the president of America? And it'd say, as of my last training data, it was X, and you'd get the wrong answer, and you'd be like, damn, that sucks. What happened?
Yeah.
And no one understood that. And a lot of people would attribute that as a hallucination when actually it's just a knowledge cutoff based on the pre-training.
Seems like they more or less solved that now by just looking it up. Like they use Google searches or web search for everything now.
That's right. And I think what drove, Perplexity's innovation, I mean, I don't know if they were the absolute first ever to do it, but really what they proliferated was this idea of not using the LLM to answer the question, but using the LLM to synthesize from the web. So go to the web, so, creating an application that could essentially crawl the web on behalf of the user, take a bunch of web content in, be that from Wikipedia, Reddit, go to a bunch of different sources, and then use the LLM to synthesize all of that web content and spit it out into a perfectly articulated answer that saves you the clicking and crawling, and then providing the sources and citations and saying, hey, this is where I went to create this answer. And, in theory, it's a lot more accurate because there's no room for hallucination. It's just the LLM is just being used to synthesize from the web. That said, what we do see sometimes is, this is a good point. We see this with commercial points. Marketers and brands are very prone to using fanciful, superlatives and fancy language to describe, to describe their
doesn't
product.
Tell you what it actually does. Like just,
yeah, exactly.
Like,
often we see hallucinations, and actually, once you dig in and you look at how ChatGPT made this mistake, you go and look at the source material, and you're like, yeah, I kind of get it. Like, it was actually kind of confusing. Like, if you're not a human that can really reason from first principles, you can understand why the LLM made that mistake. So I think
I'll give everyone listening a piece of advice on how I write treats to try. I say, make it concrete. Show, don't tell. Show me what it does, and people will understand and they will click. Just feed that to the AI. Be like, rewrite this, make it concrete, show, don't tell. You'll get a much better description of your tool if you just do that.
Yeah.
All right. So another question here. So can you talk about what you think agentic storefronts are, where you think agentic storefronts are going to go? The new Shopify approach of marketing products to AI, for example, which just came out yesterday.
Yeah, Shopify are doing great work for what it's worth. I think they're super impressive as a team. I think, obviously, OpenAI have released ACP, the Agentic Commerce Protocol. Google have AP2, if I remember correctly.
That's right.
And yeah, I think that the idea is essentially, we have a big user conference that we've done here in New York, which is where I'm based, and in London, called Zero Click. And I think, that does some of the talking for it. I think we're entering this era where you don't have to click. I think insurance or signing up for a gym membership or getting a credit card, they provide better example use cases than ecom, which is more where Shopify is focused. You can totally see a world where you're talking to ChatGPT and you're like, hey, can you go and get me some life insurance quotes? And ChatGPT will go and visit the various websites, maybe the comparison sites as well, do all the legwork. If it needs, if it's missing any information about you, it will just follow up and say, hey, can I just confirm, I don't know, that you've had no claims in the past 3 years or something, get you the quotes, and then you'll say, yeah, that sounds great, confirm. And the application, will go and transact on your behalf. I think the idea of these protocols is to allow agents, or to allow OpenAI to interface with the internet that has been built for humans, rather than us having to adapt everything else to OpenAI or to Gemini, because that feels like the most likely way this is going to actually work. It's the same. It's actually the same. The metaphor works. It's the same with robotics, where it's like, well, why build robotics that resemble the human form? And the compelling answer there is, well, we've built the world for humans, so it kind of only makes sense for us to build robots that at least loosely resemble humans, because we've built everything around us is built for humans. And you could say the same for the internet to an extent. Like, it's been built for us, so we have to kind of be able, these bots have to be able to navigate the internet in the same way that humans could.
That sort of answers a question that Westphalia Tech Inc. was or hints at one of the questions that they had, which is, do these pages still face the public if they're designed for bots? So, as you're a marketer, you're trying to create the content that is, following this telephone idea. Do you have to write it for both humans and bots?
Yeah, I think there's an ideological kind of stance that I could take here, which is, every website will have a shadow version of itself that's designed for bots, and that will become the primary website over time. But I think in reality, like, there's kind of like ideology, and then there's just like reality. Is right now we've seen no evidence that creating a second version of your website is any more effective than just having additional content on your kind of primary website. It doesn't really matter what OpenAI and Google and Grok and Meta and DeepSeek, what they're really good at is crawling websites. They're really, really good at that at this point. They kind of don't need it to all be, this like super kind of structure. The structure matters. It's not.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah, they figure it out. Yeah, it doesn't have to. As long as it's just that making sure that information is there and not getting in our own way, and ensuring that we are providing the information that is needed in the right setting is what matters. Which sounds slightly contradictory to what I just said, but I think it's a bit of a kind of it's a bit of a distraction, this idea of building these shadow websites. If anything, Google has traditionally come down pretty hard on the idea of what's been defined as cloaking in search, where you only show a website to certain users or certain bots. So yeah, I don't know. I think maybe over time, I think all that we're going to see over time is the different user profile. I think we're going to start to recognize that user agent citation visit from that bot that we were talking about earlier as like a very high value bot visit.
Right. And separating them. There's so many questions there. We'll have to have you on the show for like a full episode, because I think this would be really great to just dive into all this stuff. I did have one question to follow up on that, which was, so would you advise, like, best practices be to actually just write the best content possible for both humans and bots, like be as direct as possible, as clear as possible, provide as much information? Like, what are you seeing in
I think you've done my work for me. I think that doesn't exist. That's the conundrum, right? Is that I think the content that's best for you, Grant, is not the content that's best for a user agent. And that's it. That's the whole bit. That's everything right there. Yeah, I think the content that we would write for a bot, you would find super boring and not engage with. So that's the tightrope that we're treading right now. I think really what it's most likely to shake out like is you're going to have like a fat head of web pages that are intended for human consumption, and then just a huge long tail of pages that are intended for bot consumption. I don't think there's anything catastrophic if you were to, you, Grant, as a human, land on one of the bot focus pages. I think the consequence is probably just that you find it really boring. And that's okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I want to give you another shot on goal here with Profound. Like, what do you specifically do for folks? Like, let's really drill down. Like, why should they use Profound to help solve this problem? I mean, clearly you're a wealth of knowledge, so I can see that. But what is the platform doing? Just give us like the last 4 minutes here, like your pitch for what makes this great.
Yeah, I mean, I think the self-serving answer to your prior question, which was like, what should people do? I think if you want me to sell, I'll sell, and I mean it truthfully, is that you should use Profound, because
right.
Otherwise you're flying blind. If you are selling, like, what was the example we were using earlier, Ray-Bans, for example, you don't know where ChatGPT goes when it wants to answer questions about sunglasses. You don't know how it talks about Oakley. You don't understand, like, when people ask brand direct questions about Ray-Ban, what is it mentioning? What isn't it mentioning? Why? Where's it getting that information from? So using our software, what we're able to do is build a deep understanding of how ChatGPT, Gemini, DeepSeek, Claude, Grok, Meta, all of the models talk about, surface, understand, comprehend your product, brand, services. We tell you why, we tell you where they're going to answer those questions. Then the coolest thing is that we help you build content that's based on that data. So we help you build content that's optimized for bots. And then you can track it all in one place. So it's kind of like the full loop. Like the whole idea is that you can really, there's a flywheel where you understand what's going on, you create content, you measure the content, and over time that becomes more effective.
Do you think that your platform would eventually replace something like Ahrefs or some of these more keyword like focused tools where or Google Analytics even? I mean, this is a totally interesting area.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the risk of sounding obnoxious, I think we've got a lot of work to do, but at the risk of sounding obnoxious, I believe that in a zero-click internet, every marketer on the planet will use Profound every day to, build, manage, measure their marketing that's aimed at bots rather than humans.
Nice. Anything else you want to share before we jump off here? It looks like we might have our next guest. I'll check on that.
Good. No, thanks for having me, Grant. I appreciate it. You're doing good work, and yes, it's a cool world that we live in where you offer so much knowledge and resource to us for free. So thanks for doing what you do.
Trying to. Yeah, we're doing what we can. We did have one last comment here. Maybe we'll address in the last minute. Maybe adding sponsors and them paying for placement to ChatGPT will lower the monthly costs, membership with placements. I mean, definitely, right?
Yeah, it's a huge hot topic. You can take both sides of the argument. Some people that I know and respect take a hard stance, which is this old version of the internet where the consumer is the product and advertising is how you monetize, is a relic of a now distant past. Meaning that, platforms like Netflix and Spotify they've built very large businesses off consumer subscriptions.
Totally.
Maybe that's the future of monetization for products like ChatGPT, is with consumer subscriptions. There's a very compelling counter argument which says, no.
Both.
Yeah, like advertising is super effective. That is the best way to monetize these platforms. I probably lean the latter, to be completely honest with you. I think what people underestimate is just the sheer amount of intent that is captured in these conversations, which it's not. People are comparing the monetization opportunity against Google search. Whereas Google search, if you think of the intent that is captured in a search term versus a ChatGPT or a Gemini conversation, it's like apples and oranges. It's the wealth of intent you capture is going to make advertising maybe 10x more effective in these models. So I think there's like a 10x value creation, 10x value capture opportunity. So if Google's doing 200 billion, maybe there's a $2 trillion opportunity here in advertising.
Wow. Wild. Yeah. And to your point about, or the point about agentic shopping, maybe some of that value capture happens where it's just like point of sale taking part of the transaction. So it's not like you're bombarded with ads, but we'll see. James, thank you so much for joining us. This is great. We will definitely have you back on the show.
All right. Cheers.
We could talk for like 3 hours about this.
Cheers. Bye.
Yeah. But everybody make sure to check out Profound. Okay. Our next guest is here. I'll give a really short blurb. So we've talked about how to buy ads outside of Meta and Google duopoly and in the physical world, and how to market directly to ChatGPT. But the one thing that we haven't touched on yet is trust. And we're in a very low trust environment in the world right now. And trust is really, really important. So for example, how do you work with brands who have trust? I mean, as a creator myself, I know how important an audience's trust is to a creator, which is why we try to give you the most valuable content possible. But how do you leverage AI to market to creators like me and sort of like rent their trust from them in a way that, is efficient and quick? Well, the next platform and our next guest, Jonathan, who spent years at Spotify building and optimizing algorithms for ads, co-founded Agentio, and they've raised $40 million from Forerunner, Benchmark, and Khosla Ventures. I think their total is now $56 million, growing 5x year over year. Jonathan, looks like you're here. Welcome to the show, Jonathan.
Hey, Grant. Thanks for having me. Really excited to be here and big fan of the show as well.
Oh, awesome. Cool. So your platform is Agentio. So I understand you're going to tell us a bit about Agentio, and then we can open up to some questions. Do you want to give everyone just like a quick pitch on what you're building and what you've got for them?
Yeah, 100%. So I'm Jonathan, co-founder and CTO of Agentio. Agentio is an AI native platform for creator advertising. We make it as easy for brands like DoorDash and Uber, Cash App, Mint Mobile, Viore, Skims, just these amazing consumer brands that creators are so excited to partner with. We make it as easy for them to create scalable creator programs and really make creators a meaningful part of their media plan across both organic and paid placements, which happy to talk a bit more about what exactly that means. We started the business in 2023, and we've had an amazing run to date, and really excited to continue growing what we know is the most effective way for brands to tell the story to humans. So really appreciate James' perspective on what it means to build technology to enable brands to get their messages into the place where a lot of intent and search is happening. But we really focus on this intersection of brands, creators, and of course where attention is, which is on creator content just like this.
100%. Yeah. And I think that's great. And I think it's why it's a very complimentary service, because while we do want the bots to know about our products, we also trust humans and trust people we like. And I think that's not going to go away no matter if AGI happens next year or not.
100%. And I think since we started the business till now, even in this short amount of time, you've seen like such a large macro shift in how brands are thinking about creators. Earlier this year, you had Unilever, the fourth largest advertiser in the world, saying that 50% of their marketing budget is going to go to creators in 2026. And wow. That was sort of a really big wake-up moment for the industry at large. And why are they doing that? They understand that creators are the most effective way to communicate their message to audiences, wherever those audiences might be, on social platforms, and this sort of mandate to have a creator in every zip code, being able to speak to an audience that they've built, that trusts them, that they engage with, and importantly, that the creator themselves, is excited about the brand that they're partnering with. This is like a really important part of the ecosystem, that there's this double opt-in of, brands wanting to work with specific creators and creators choosing the brands that they work with. And Agentio is creating, the marketplace that enables that to happen. And of course, it's only possible because of AI as the technology shift that's enabled, the ability to make this scalable for the first time. Historically, creator advertising, we didn't make it up. It's been happening for as long as creator content's been around. But it's been really difficult for brands to scale. And when we're early in the days of starting the business, we talked to a lot of the sort of scaled creator programs that had partnered with a lot of YouTube creators historically. And what they told us is that creators specifically on YouTube were one of their most efficient marketing channels, but it was incredibly hard to scale. They had this really difficult problem of trying to find the creators that aligned with their brand and they thought could effectively drive outcomes for them. They had to get in touch with those creators. There was these weeks and months long process of negotiating with those creators and lots of back and forth, typically like lawyers involved. Once they got an agreement signed, you had to make the content. The content had to be aligned with a specific creator brief. Then that content had to be posted. You had to measure it somehow. And then you had to do that like 100 times in a month and hope that, you could do that every single month. It's just like, you can tell why it's an absolutely daunting task. And these teams solved it by, building a lot of headcount and trying to sort of build their own internal processes of scaling it through Google Sheets or the other ways that, scrappy teams get things done. We saw a clear way to automate all of those pain points and really empower marketers to build these incredibly scalable and efficient programs by leveraging Agentio, which is a two-sided marketplace and this AI technology on top that lets both sides of the marketplace transact. And that's what we've done.
That's actually awesome. How specifically does AI help like improve the marketplace? Because like the one side of it is, okay, we need to make a system where these two people can interact with each other efficiently. How does the AI add to that, which I think is really interesting?
I think the biggest sort of like breakthrough, I'll share some just of my like personal experience from before starting Agentio. I was at Spotify where we were working on a project called automated content marketing. And the idea here was, could we use the listening data set at Spotify and also the content on Spotify, like artist images, to help make all of our performance marketing campaigns more efficient? There's actually a great blog post about this project online somewhere. But the general thinking here is that because of all the listening data on Spotify, nobody knows more about artists than Spotify. Because you have like the underlying data set of, if you listen to this artist, you're a lot more likely to like that artist, et cetera. And this gives you this sort of deep semantic understanding of the entity that is an artist, something that historically would have been really difficult for anybody else to quantify. And when you compare that with the performance data that you get from ads, you're able to then optimize and predict the artist that actually could drive the best outcomes, the most new users to sign up for Spotify. And as my co-founder Arthur and I were starting the company, Arthur, before Agentio, was one of the first employees and the president of Cameo, helped build the largest celebrity marketplace ever. Saw the inefficiencies of first fans trying to partner and get in touch with their favorite people, and of course, brands started knocking on their door, and he saw all of the sort of friction that brands had in trying to work with creators. But as we were starting the business, LLMs became publicly available, and it was this light bulb moment that LLMs, specifically, AI and now multimodal understanding, allow you to build this semantic understanding of who a creator is. Like, you can actually understand a creator now at a machine level in a way that maybe the super fan of the neuron they could tell you every single moment of every single episode. You can now actually build software that can do that for creators, and that's so important because when we think about what it takes to make these authentic connections between brands and creators, having this deep understanding of who this creator is, both through like their public content, but also like a lot of the sort of unstructured data, the things that are important to that creator. If you're going to do an ad read for Warby Parker, it's pretty important that you wear glasses, and that problem in and of itself is hard. Maybe it'd be a great fit for a Warby ad read at some point in the future. But
come on, y'all, I'm right here.
Warby, if you're listening.
This is literally Warby Parker glasses also.
Oh, there you go. Okay, now they're gonna, if you join Agentio,
they're definitely gonna hit me.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. So yeah, this is like one part of how LLM's multimodal understanding has helped create a lot of efficiency in the marketplace. It's this ability to go from, hey, I have an idea about a campaign I want to run, similar to the sort of like intent that Jonathan was showing at the beginning of the episode here of, hey, I have an idea for an out-of-home campaign, and using this sort of LLM to iterate on strategy and sort of collapse this funnel of, what would have taken a team of people a really long time to figure out and ideate about. Agentio enables that with creator content and being able to say, hey, I want to run a campaign. I want to, drive this specific outcome. Our system can help you find the creators that match that specific criteria much faster, because we have a really deep understanding of both their content, and importantly, creators are on Agentio. They're part of our network. They log into Agentio every day. There's creators who rely on Agentio for supporting their work full time, and we're really excited about the important role that Agentio plays in supporting creator monetization and the trust that we've been able to build in our marketplace, and to your point before, the trust that brands have with creators as well. So that's just one example of where it's helping.
Yeah, I know. I think we have one of the case studies we wanted to talk about. But also just generally, who are some of the biggest creators? I know Rhett and Link used you, and they actually came on board the company, right? Is that what happened?
Yeah, Rhett and Link have been just amazing partners. They leverage Agentio, and the whole Good Mythical team is just top notch. Like we're so grateful to be partnered with them, and yeah, that was a very organic partnership. They were seeing a lot of value from Agentio and helping get brand sponsorships for all the incredible content that they produce. And I can maybe I'll actually just share. I can show you our website.
Yeah.
We just relaunched it. We have a really fun video. Creator advertising should be fun. We have a really fun video to show. So let's do it.
Awesome. Ika will pull it up when it's ready.
Cool. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Maybe let's play this video quickly for everyone to get a better idea about what Agentio is all about. Hopefully you can hear the audio.
Agentio is the AI native platform for creator advertising. Creator-led campaigns drive results, but scaling them buries your team in manual work. Agentio lets you focus on strategy by automating the entire process, from discovery and contracting to launch. With real-time performance insights across every channel, you can understand what drives results and continuously optimize for impact. Now, creators become part of your media plan. Launch campaigns in minutes, optimize in real time, and prove results across the funnel. Turn creator partnerships into a measurable advantage with Agentio.
Awesome. So you might have seen some of maybe
Some of
your favorite creators in there. Anyone stick out to you that you're a fan of?
Well, I haven't watched him in years, but Philip DeFranco's on there. He was like meaningful for me in high school for sure. Tons of people. Did I say Theo? Is he on there?
He actually might have been. Let's see. Not Theo Vaughn, you're saying?
No. Theo, he's like a programmer. I think I saw him on your website.
Yeah, he might be
not this time
on the site, but
there's huge people.
Jenna Phipps, just unbelievable creators, and this has been, I think, like one of the big unlocks for a lot of our brand partners is being able to, just be able to very seamlessly and easily partner with some of the best creators in the world, and our position on the power of creator is give the space for the creator to be creative and really be able to take a brand's message and deliver it in a new and novel way, and that's the power of creator-led advertising, and of course having the most creative people on the planet share that is super critical. And this is one of the big things that Bombas has been able to do. Bombas, this is a case study on our site. Bombas is a great partner of ours, and they've really seen the power of Agentio in unlocking YouTube specifically for them at scale, and this has been a really big part of what is actually like a net new channel for them. So they've been able to partner. If you see here, they've had 450 videos published, over 165 million views. This came out earlier this year, so these numbers are much larger now. View through rates of 83%, which is like unprecedented in sort of marketing. And when you actually measure a lot of the sentiment on these videos, this was something that stuck out to us in the early beginning. Like, it is just off the charts, which I think really speaks to the power of creator. Bombas has this incredible mission where, if you buy one, they'll donate. If you buy a pair of socks or you buy any item from them, they'll donate something.
They're on my Christmas list this year.
Yeah, there you go. And one of the really exciting things when they first launched a lot of these, creator videos on YouTube was seeing the comment section of people saying, I was actually in a shelter and Bombas donated socks and like they really helped me. And it wasn't just like one or two, it was like hundreds and hundreds of these comments and thousands of reactions on them. And it was really just such an incredible unlock for being able to like authentically engage the audiences of these creators, and really just like a special moment for us as a company, being able to see just how like impactful this has been. And I'll show one thing here that really also got us excited during the course of this campaign. When we talk about like how creative people are and making sure people and the creativity of creators is front and center in the platform that we're building. Caroline Winkler, this ad read out of 10. If you looked at the brief there, she didn't get any brief that was different than anybody else, and she ended up making essentially
looking so sponsored.
Bombas.
Why you looking so dancer?
Bombas.
Why you looking so demure?
Bombas. Bombas. Bombas.
I won't play the whole thing. If you want to check it out, you can. But
That's
she's
hilarious.
actually created this like unbelievable rap song. And if you look at the comments, every single comment is like, "That was the best ad read ever. That was the greatest thing I've ever seen." Bombas is so lucky to have you. Like, in what other form of advertising is the audience talking about the actual ad? And this really is just the exciting part of creator, when you can create these authentic creator partnerships at scale. This is just a quick overview here, but happy to chat more about this or move on, Grant.
I don't have questions about this campaign specifically. I guess I'm just thinking from a marketing perspective. So I noticed that there's like a bid system, right? So if I wanted to work with a specific influencer, are there like minimum thresholds that are listed on their profile? Like, or do I set my budget? Like, I'm trying to spend this much. Like, how does it work on that side?
Yeah, exactly. So brands come in, they'll set a budget, and the way it works, brands send bids on the platform. So creators will receive a bid from a brand. It has all the information that they need to know about what this partnership entails, what's expected of them, how many videos, what time frame. They'll receive the creative brief too, and they can either accept that opportunity or not. And then our system will learn from that based on the feedback that we get from not just one creator, but all of the creators that are taking action on all the bids that are going through the marketplace. So we make it really easy and seamless. That's how we see 6 and 7-figure budgets filled in a matter of hours. That is like,
wow.
if you've been in the industry, that's something that typically would have taken many weeks or months to accomplish, with a large team of people working around the clock to do all of the things I mentioned before of finding the creators, getting in touch, contracting. We've now compressed that into just a typically hours-long process, which is really unprecedented, and is a thing that's going to enable us to shift this sort of $800 billion pool of ad spend to creators for the first time. The market today is about $10 billion of brand dollars flowing to creators. That's been highly constrained, not because brands don't recognize that creators are the most effective storytellers. It's because there hasn't been the critical infrastructure in Agentio to enable that flow to happen at scale.
Right. And before you guys, it wasn't possible to make it as easy as like buying Facebook ads, for example, Google. Yeah, exactly. Any questions from the chat? Anybody got questions for Jonathan? I can run through some of mine. I guess one of my questions would be, so what would you as a marketer recommend people do the first time they're using your tool? Like what type of campaigns perform really well? Like when would you want to go for, say, like a creator campaign versus a non-creator campaign?
It's a good question. I think when we think about creator more broadly, and I touched on this in the beginning, like we think about it in two contexts. One is like the organic context, and one is the paid context. So organic is where we focused on YouTube historically. These are 60 to 90-second ads in a YouTube video that the creator is publishing themselves. So the creator in this way is producing this amazing creative that's also in the video that they're distributing, and they're the ones delivering the media. They're the ones delivering the audience. And that is really effective for brands who actually want to work across the funnel. So it works for higher funnel tactics like awareness, mid funnel like consideration, and even conversion focused advertisers. It's like a very rare full funnel tactic that works incredibly well. And then when we think about the opportunity in paid, Meta has published many case studies on partnership ads. Partnership ads are the most efficient ad unit in Meta's ecosystem. They often perform 20 to 40% better compared to non-partnership ads. A partnership ad is a creator often producing a bespoke video creative for a brand, and then that media gets actually distributed through Meta's ad ecosystem, its own rails, and its own targeting engine, which makes it incredibly powerful. So as users on Instagram or Facebook are on their feeds, they'll see this content, and typically creators are producing ads that don't really feel like ads. It feels like engaging content, and often, we mentioned trust before, they're seeing a creator that they follow, they've been watching for a really long time, and unsurprisingly, these lead to much better outcomes. So on Meta, you can use these ads for, again, any part of the funnel that you care about. So we see creator as not something that's just good for a single part of a brand's media plan, but really can actually impact all of it, and really should be considered as a way for brands to dramatically increase the efficiency of what they're doing across every single channel, really. And what we do is we try to make it really easy for brands. We have a number of brands whose performance team, their acquisition teams are on Agentio, and the brand awareness teams are on Agentio. Two different teams, two separate ad accounts, totally different goals. They both have found these unique ways to leverage creator to help achieve whatever KPIs that they have. So it really is useful for everything. And Agentio is the platform that helps brands not only get these campaigns live at scale, but also understand at scale. This is the unique part of creator marketing that historically has eluded the marketers at these scale programs. We talked to a number of them in the early days. They say, I don't even know why the things are working, right? I wish I knew, but I've got 1,000 ads going live from all these amazing creators. I don't even know why the things are working. Multimodal understanding changes that entire calculation. You can finally build software and systems that can, watch the thousands of videos that creators are posting on behalf of a brand and actually understand and extract the patterns that are useful to, drive alignment on the next set of creative for a brand to test it. This is what
that's interesting. But let me ask you another question about that. So that's something that you're doing on the back end then?
This is something that Agentio helps brands with. So when we think about the life cycle that was highlighted in our video, it's really understanding its scale. Understanding here is not just what it's been historically in advertising, which is looking at the sort of quantitative data associated with a fixed number of ad creatives that you're running. It's being able to look at that same quantitative data, but now across all of the creative that's being produced. And the power of creator is that you can give them a brief, but there's going to be variability in the creative that's being produced. That's the right way to do creator. We've seen brands be less successful with giving scripts or just sort of being very prescriptive about exactly what creators should say. It's in that sort of creative variety and that sort of abundance of different variations of messaging where all these unintuitive sort of outcomes can happen, and where you can actually go and reach net new audiences with a message that you haven't been successful at before. And what does this mean? This is essentially brands don't have to be bottlenecked by the creativity of a small team or a small set of agency partners. They can now leverage this entire globally distributed network of some of the most creative people in the world to help communicate their message. And that's really the power of creator. And that's useful across really any marketing goal that you might have.
Okay, I've got a wild one for you. Would you ever, as the tools and the model capabilities get better, create a way to almost automate the creation process for creators? So whether that's using VO or Nano Banana, letting the creators rent or license their likenesses to you so you can automate that portion.
We get asked this question from time to time, and folks have asked us are you using AI for creators to make their ad reads? It could happen. It could have already happened and we just don't know about it. We take the position that the creators are the most creative people. They're the ones that are generating this sort of net new ways of communicating a set of talking points to an audience. And oftentimes they're doing it because they love these products. They use them in their own life. They have a personal story have a reason why they're excited to speak to their audience about this brand. That's the power of creator. I do think there's definitely an opportunity, especially as the tools continue to get better. I think we're like right on the border of where the quality starts getting good enough where these types of tools will start being a part of a creator's toolkit in the same way that, in the early days of iPhone, I don't think every single creator was rushing to start filming videos on their iPhone.
Sure.
I'm not sure if the word creator existed back then either, but like
probably
the quality
not.
of
It was
cameras
journalist or
yeah, exactly. The quality of those cameras wasn't good enough. It took a little while, but eventually the quality gets good enough. The compute gets good enough. The editing software gets democratized. Like the toolkits, the ways of actually producing, distributing get good enough to have a tipping point and get mainstream adoption. I think we're just like almost there on the creator side where this will be like a meaningful part of creators toolkit in the beginning, likely for fixing small parts of videos that they don't want to have to go do expensive and timely reshoots. And in the future, who knows? This is like why it's so exciting. In the same way that the iPhone led to this explosion in creativity, it's very clear that the same thing is going to happen in the creator space, and existing creators will embrace it, but it's also going to create an entire new generation of creators. I think we get like an early look at this with Sora or some of the early tools that you mentioned too, but
or Tilly Norwood, right, the controversial actress in Hollywood.
Right, and this is like going to create an entire generation of creators and folks who maybe just weren't empowered to create something, but they had ideas in the past. They now can produce incredible content that reaches a specific audience that has shared characteristics or interests that they have. This is like the early promise of what the internet is and has become, and we're super excited about that. That sort of opportunity is only expanding the pie for for brands and creators, and that means it's like the importance of Agentio is only going to grow in the future as you get this explosion. If you thought the creator economy is big today, it's only going to get bigger as time goes on, as more creators are enabled by this new set of technology, and we're super excited about that.
Yeah, I could see. And then we have one more question I want to get to before you jump off here. Our next guest is here as well. But I could see that leading to, like, let's say like I'm a creator like Philip DeFranco or something. I could, in theory, make like 100 different versions. I could record it once and create 100 different versions of the same ad that's like geo-targeted to like, a Home Depot, for example, in Glendale or somewhere like that, where it's like it's hyper-targeted to a specific market. If those tools were implemented, I think that would be very cool, where it's like I create the content myself, but then it's repurposed in all these different ways. Last question. If I am an agency, how can I utilize your program to either upsell or enhance my marketing services?
It's a great question. I'll interpret this as an agency representing brands. Definitely reach out on our website. We have an interest form on there. This is going to be something that we focus on in the year ahead. So we'd love to hear from you, and we're super excited about continue to expand the brands who are on platform today and enable them to partner with the best creators in the world.
Awesome. Anything else, Jonathan, before we jump off? Anything else you want to share?
Thanks again for having me today. Super excited to be here, and excited to continue tuning into the show. Love what you guys are doing.
Awesome. Thank you very much, and thanks again for joining.
All right, take care.
So before I introduce our last guest, I want to remind everyone, stay till 1. We're going to test GPT 5.2, aka Garlic. So definitely stay tuned. Although I will need like a 2-minute break because I'm really hungry, so I got to scarf something real fast before we jump into that. So just keep that in mind. All right, so introducing our next guest here. So we've talked about where to expand your marketing's reach across out-of-home ads, AI-first search, and creator platforms. Now let's talk about messaging. How do you best leverage AI to make sure that once your messaging reaches them, that it actually really reaches them, like on a deeper level? Because even if you have all the reach in the world, if your message doesn't speak to the audience, they aren't going to buy what you're selling. So Crystal from Digital Culture Group is going to share her resonance pathway system and how it's the fastest way to get your message from idea to brain. What's really makes Crystal's story remarkable is she started with just $300, a LinkedIn post, and her vision, and now she's working with major brands like Procter & Gamble, Jeep, General Motors, the Home Depot, Random House, you name it. It's really awesome. Crystal, welcome to the show. Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
Rewind. Nice to meet you, Grant. Thank you for
Nice to
having
meet
me.
you as well. Yeah. Excited to have you. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit more about Digital Culture Group? There's the Resonance Pathway, and you have a platform as well, right?
I do, yeah. So Digital Culture Group, we're an ad tech company, and we really focus on audience nuances. We are audience first ad tech company, which means that if you have certain audiences you want to reach, we look at that and reverse engineer success for you and say, okay, we know you have your core audience, but let's dig a little deeper to make sure that, to your earlier point, if I'm going to show a brand message to an audience, is it going to resonate? Is it going to stick? And that is why we created ARI, which stands for Audience Resonance Index. And it is known to really help a brand go from RFP or brief mode all the way to market, making sure it resonates and it can drive conversion and also create brand loyalty with that audience.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was reading that basically it's it kind of maps what's happening right now. Like, can you tell me a little bit more about how it works? Yeah.
Yeah, so we saw that there's a disconnect when it comes to marketing, that marketers weren't looking at live data signals or market signals to help determine how to message an audience. So when I watch CNBC every morning, I look at the new brands that are going to disrupt their industries. I also look at the heritage brands that are on there talking about, quarter over quarter and expectations and boycotts even. That changes my perception as a consumer. So I see new brands who are disrupting, and I say, okay, I'm going to try out that brand because that's cool and that's new, that's innovative. And then I see the brands who are making bad decisions, and I say, oh, let's stop buying that brand or from that brand right now until they get their act together or they fix whatever issue they're having internally. So from there, Ari is showing brands this, and they're also assessing risk when it comes to cultural moments or when it comes to tentpole events to tell the brands, should you be in alignment with Hispanic Heritage Month? Is this good for your brand based on your brand's mission and what the audience knows about your brand? And if you do, here's some risk assessments that we're going to provide you just in case you have any backlash in market. This is what you might come, in face with. Just FYI. And then when it comes to temple events, should you be aligning and be adjacent to things like Super Bowl or Taylor Swift's engagement? Does it make sense for your audience? Sometimes brands hop on a moment because it's trendy and they're trying to reach this new audience called Gen Z. And, that might not be their core audience. So we want to make sure that if you're going to market, it makes sense.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's very needed from some out of touch ads that I've seen. I think also one thing that's really complicated, especially for people building in the AI space, is like not everyone likes AI, and it can be very controversial. So is AI a popular selling point for your brand? I remember there was this study that I read early in my tenure at the Neuron where it basically said mentioning AI in products actually reduces trust. So I just don't mention it when I do Treats to Try. I take the word completely out of the tool and I focus on the use case. Like, what does this actually do? Because AI is not a selling point to everyone. The value that it provides can be a selling point, but it's not always a selling point. I wonder, do you focus on stuff like that? Like, how granular do you get with what you're tracking?
Yeah, so Grant, when we talk to prospects or we talk to our clients about our tool, which is AI, right, based, that's the foundation, sometimes I don't even like saying AI as well, because if I'm talking to insights team, they might feel like we're trying to take their jobs, and we're not. We still need people to pull the levers, right, behind AI. And also, when I talk to brands, I think what's missing from the AI tools they see in the market is really that customer culture aspect and the nuances of the audiences. That is what's missing in other AI tools in the ad tech and martech space. Right now, you can create taxonomies if you want to reach a man that has a cat. Okay, that's cool, but what else can I know about him? What language does he speak at home? What other products does he buy? And also, is he interested in getting an advertisement and showing how we're aligning with certain key moments throughout the year? So those things are really important. It's culture that really drives us as a society, right? It makes us, want to learn more about a brand when we see an ad and it's nostalgic, or we see an ad that aligns with our lifestyle. We don't want to see an ad that's overarching, that's very broad. Also, I don't want to see an ad based on things that I don't have. Like, I don't have a dog anymore. My dog passed away. So why are you still showing me a dog ad where those signals are very easy to get? There's so much data in this ecosystem that why are we not using that data for relevance and we're using it for reach only, which can have a bad taste in someone's mouth.
Totally. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I also think like all ad platforms should add a "don't show me this again" thing, because that's a really good signal to advertisers. Like, don't waste your money on advertising to this person.
Exactly. And if you don't mind, I would love to show you a demo of Ari.
Please do. Yeah, this would be great. Yeah,
All right,
let's get into
perfect.
it.
So I'm going to share
Go ahead
my
and
screen.
share your screen, and Ika will pull it up. We did have one question, but I think perhaps it was for Jonathan. So we'll make sure to address that. It was about creator marketing. If you
Okay,
have thoughts on creative marketing, we could circle back to that.
I do. So can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so this is a very standard RFP that we would receive. The advertiser's name is Apex Athletics for this use case. We have geo-targeting target audience. There's a whole bunch of audiences right here. So we have Gen Z and millennials, 18 to 34, secondary parents, 35 to 50, diverse segments, African American, Hispanic, Latino, and Asian American. And their campaign goals for this athletic brand. We also have brand positioning and top competitors. So nothing out of the norm, nothing tricky in this RFP. But from there, we upload that RFP into Ari. And Ari is using API keys for AI. We're using US Census data. We're feeding it articles from Nielsen. We're feeding it articles from the ANA and AIM, as well as eMarketer, to make sure we can have predictive analytics, but also make sure it's socially responsible, because we don't want to influence a brand to reach a certain audience if we don't have those key insights about certain groups of audiences that we want to reach. So from there, as you can see, this is the RFP. Ari is going to give us a resonance convergence coefficient score. And that is that connection that we're talking about, that resonance that it'll have with that audience it's trying to reach. This is based on a 9 metric system: platform relevance, cultural relevance. And I tell people culture is not just based on ethnicity and race, it's also based on the commonality a group shares. Grant, where are you from?
I was muted. I'm from Los Angeles. Yeah,
Okay, I'm from the
California.
Bay Area. So,
Right
with
on.
Bay Area and LA, they say that sometimes it should be two different states like North Carolina and South Carolina, because we're very different and when it comes to culture, right? But there are some commonalities that we share being both from California, like it's very expensive to live there.
Yeah,
So we could share
for
that
real.
versus versus someone in Boise, Idaho, for example, right? They have a different culture in Boise, Idaho that only they could understand because they're from there and they live there. So we want to make
Right.
sure that if we're showing an ad to a person and we're a certain brand, that we're speaking the language as well as being relevant to that culture. Representation, geocultural fit, commerce bridge. So showing an ad and then a person converting. Buzz and conversation, cultural authority, media ownership equity, and cultural vernacular. If you're trying to reach Gen Z, are you saying the same lingo as Gen Z? Are you making sure that you're resonating with them in that way? So
Right.
from there, we show this top strength in the RFP and the key opportunity, as well as the ROI potential. So this means if we were to take all of these outputs from the detailed metrics, and it's just really a guide to make the proposal a lot better. So that way we go into market, we're coming out of the gate very strong, and we're not guessing. We're taking the guesswork out. McKinney, as well as Nielsen, they did a study, and they said that, from an agency standpoint, they've seen that at the end of the day, there are wasted impressions sometimes working with partners because they're optimizing 2 weeks or 1 month after. We saw that
Mm,
Nielsen said that that brands are wasting 40% or more on unintended audiences. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure
mm,
that we're connecting with these audiences. So for our top strength, it says buzz and conversation. So that buzz and conversation, it says a strong score is supported by the campaign's goal to drive brand awareness, influencer partnerships, and engaging storytelling, which naturally generates buzz. However, the key opportunity, which for us means the missed opportunity that was not highlighted in that RFP, is the media ownership equity. And
mm,
that is a lower score, suggests limited investment in media channels owned by diverse groups. Increasing this area could boost equity and reach within targeted communities, also lending to authentic voices, right? So if you're just
right.
thinking, oh, I should be on mainstream media to reach these diverse audiences, you're wrong. Because it is where these audiences from different multicultural groups are going to certain cultural environments because they want that authentic voice and they trust
Right.
those authentic voices too. Scroll
Right.
down and we can put in, let's say, a competitor brand like Reebok athletic brand, and we can see what Reebok is doing from a digital advertising standpoint so we can conquest those audiences. And some of these solutions we have in-house at Digital Culture Group, and some we don't. But it's great to see how we can say, okay, let's create a strategy because we understand based on the RE's outputs what
Mm.
Reebok is doing in marketing, and say, let's either do a version of that, or we can come up with new strategies to reach that audience as well. So it says influencer collaborations, sustainability storytelling, augmented reality experiences. We don't have that, but again, that's a bonus to the brand. Hyper targeted audio ads and interactive brand challenges. So it says, for example, for the hyper targeted audio ads, leverage hyper targeted audio advertisements that speak directly to the lifestyle and interests of Gen Z and millennials with a focus on diverse cultural segments. Unlike Reebok's broader targeting strategies, use advanced data analytics to deliver highly personalized messages that resonate on an individual level. Love this.
Right
So
on.
this can be dangerous in the wrong hands, right? Or in the right hands, maybe.
Yeah, anyone can learn anything about any group, I guess. This is
Exactly,
interesting.
exactly. So then
Yeah.
we have the growth audience opportunities. Now, these growth audiences are a refined version of the audiences that you saw in the RFP. So we're telling the brand or the agency teams, hey, let's refine this audience even more based on these live data signals and these market signals. So we see that the active lifestyle millennials are part of that refined audience, and the interests include fitness enthusiasts, streetwear fashion, sustainable living, outdoor activities. We have demographics. We also have ethnicity and race breakout too, which is really important.
Mm.
In our industry, sometimes we hear, let's just dedicate 5% to multicultural. But why would you date 5% when right here it shows that Hispanic or Latinos are 43.2% of this audience? Black or
Mm.
African Americans, 5.4, Asian, 17.9, and two or more races are 22.6%.
Where is this data coming from? This is fascinating.
Yeah, so it's a combination between the US Census data, American
Right.
Consumer Survey, as well as the research combined. So it's
Right.
saying, let's say, for example, if you're trying to reach the white audience, the decrease in representation for white demographics may be attributed to the growing diversity and multiculturalism among millennials, who are
Mm.
more likely to engage with diverse cultural and community experiences aligned with the characteristics of this audience.
Right.
And it goes
Interesting.
for each demographic as well. Another key point about this, which I love, we get questions all the time, like Crystal, which language should we serve this audience if it's a multicultural audience? Now,
Right.
again, we're taking the guesswork out. For this particular audience, if we're going to be reaching Hispanic audiences, it says Spanish is 65%, English is 35%. Also, at Digital Culture Group, we have a rich media unit where the user can toggle between English and their heritage language. So we don't assume that they speak a certain language just because of their ethnicity and race.
Right. Yeah, that's good.
Another thing that I love about this is our emerging audience opportunity. And Grant, you might hear this all the time from different brands saying, our audience, our new audience, they're Gen Z. We're going to reach Gen Z. Well, that's not always the case. Sometimes it's not, sometimes it is. However, in this case, our emerging audience is the Gen Z audience, so tech savvy, eco conscious youth. But this is based on live data signals. Sometimes this can be different based on the brand, based on the promotion. But for this particular audience, they're saying, okay, yes, we should be tapping into Gen Z, but a specific kind of Gen Z. And the rationale is
Mm.
that this segment shows growth potential as eco consciousness rises among young, tech savvy individuals who value sustainable brands. Targeting them can align with Apex Athletics' future consumer trends.
Right.
All right, and then moving on, we also have media affinity, so we know where to reach this audience from websites to TVs. Our trend
Wow.
analysis lets us know from our toolkit at Digital Culture Group, what should we be leveraging to reach this audience? It is a dirty little secret that I'm exposing that when you're reaching these audiences, sometimes working with ad tech providers or sometimes even internal activation teams at agencies and brands, there is guesswork. They don't know how to reach this audience. They're just like, you know what? From the last campaign, display works. I'm gonna use display again. Maybe it'll work this time. But right
Mm.
now, it's showing you no. For urban audiences, we should be reaching this audience with rich media or our social display booths that we have. For Gen X, we should be using AI dynamic creative to reach this audience.
Wow. This is so much. What if I'm a marketer and I'm like, this is great information, but I am overwhelmed by this? What is there like a, did they give me a summary somewhere that I
Yes, let's jump forward to the summary then. So if
okay.
you're like, Crystal, I have an awareness campaign. I just need to know based on my core audience, how can
Yep.
I reach them? And so with this, your core audience, we also have the industry news impact analysis, which again, remember I said, the markets impact marketing, which will impact, overall the consumer. So
Mhm.
we're looking at what industry news impact is going to have on this audience from a core audience standpoint. We're looking at digital advertising creative concepts to reach this audience. So what type of messaging should we use to go into market? Our advertising targeting, as well as our advertising solutions that we should do. And if there's any audience overlaps, that way we can drive efficiencies. But Grant, yes, it is overwhelming, but it's end-to-end solution. So you might
Right.
not use all of these features, but you will use majority of them because it takes a lot to really intentionally plan a campaign and to make sure that every dollar that you're putting in market is actually reaching the audience you want to reach.
Yeah, because you're basically trying to get down to what is the core, where are the core platforms, the core audiences, and the core message to reach those audiences on those platforms. And so you have to go through
Correct.
everything to get there.
That's right. And sometimes it takes 5 teams to come up with one ad campaign, right? Where
Right.
this is like, okay, now instead of us being siloed and working in different teams, let's work together. Insights team, you have these insights that you saw, activation team, these are the activation, creative teams. This is what we should be messaging. Is allowing every silo now to really be one unified approach, to have one unified approach to reach these audiences. And it's not, oh, this team handle this and our team handle this. No, let's handle it together. Let's have brainstorming sessions and utilize Ari for this.
So is there okay, so there's two things I was wondering. The first one is there a place where I could like give it my like here's the campaign or here's the copy I'm thinking about sending right now, and it could use that brief to like judge the copy?
So what we can do is test out different marketing scenarios. So
Okay.
for example, if you want to say, does a what do you want to say for this particular brand?
Okay,
Scenario,
let's
a
this is
copy.
this is the athletic brand, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's say like does advertising in the neuron appeal to this audience? Let's do a little self promo here.
You're on podcast.
Yeah, maybe say like podcast slash newsletter. Does it have a web search component? Like, is it going to be able to look that up and know what I'm talking about?
We'll find out. Align with this audience. Now this is all AI, so of course it has that.
Yeah.
But we'll see
If
how
it
much it
can
knows
figure
about,
out. Yeah.
yeah, the neuron.
Yeah. Let's see.
So there are 3 outputs you can get. You can get positive, you can get neutral, and you can get concerned. So right now, what Ari is doing is it's testing the core audience, the 2 growth audiences, and the emerging audience to see how it feels based on psychographic information. So
Right.
all of them are feeling neutral, and advertising in the neuron aligns well. Active lifestyle millennials value authentic experiences and premium lifestyle content. Matching the podcast focus on innovation and sustainability.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Trending multicultural parents seek authentic premium experiences. Advertising in the neuron aligns with their interest in cultural and lifestyle content, driving engagement and brand trust. So that's a yes. I think that's a yes.
Okay. Yeah. If they're a client of yours, send them our way.
Well, this is a
Um,
fake client. This is only for the demo,
oh,
but
okay.
yes.
Yeah.
If I ever create it, yes, I'll send them your way.
Yes. Very cool. Very cool. And then you mentioned, so like, let's say there's like a trending topic that's happening, that's like that's happening now. That's maybe not tied to my brand, but I want to check how like that whole scenario that you gave earlier. Can we see how that works?
Sure. Do you want to see Super Bowl or do you want to see a pop culture moment?
What do you think? You pick something that would be good.
Let's do Super Bowl since that's coming up and everybody's excited about Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So, as you know, there have been a lot of backlash and a lot of apologies happening this year, right? There have been brands who thought, oh, we can align with this spokesperson. They can represent our brand. We can go and market, and we can also align with a certain cultural moment, and we'll be okay. And it didn't go, it didn't go well at all. And so brands were apologizing left and right. Some brands were like, nope, we don't care. We think this cultural moment, we did a good job. It was a good alignment for reaching new audiences, but they didn't take time to do a focus group sometimes, or they were like, let's just test it out and put it out there. But as your brand really these days cannot take risks like that. So with that, Super Bowl is safe. So we're going to see how Apex Athletics can align with Super Bowl as it relates to the audiences in the core audience in the RFP, the two growth audiences, and that emerging audience. So it says that alignment with Super Bowl is 90 out of 100.
Makes sense.
Resonance with the audiences is 85 out of 100. Strong recommendation for this cultural and tentpole moment. It gives cultural context, which is really good, especially for cultural moments like Black History Month or Hispanic Heritage Month, for things that a brand might not have had experience, aligning with those particular cultural moments in the past. We also have brand opportunities. So this provides opportunities for the brand to connect with the audience and in alignment with that particular tentpole moment or cultural moment. We see what's trending right now when it comes to that, like sustainability in sports, impact of AI in marketing, interactive live ads, diversity in advertising. We have content ideas, and then we also have the websites for ad placement. So that way, in Super Bowl, right, content is being displayed. We can see that on ESPN, let's push a button and let's be adjacent to that inventory. Or if we're seeing it on USA Today, let's be adjacent to that inventory. We also can see keywords. That way, for the keywords, we'll put this in our keyword targeting or our SEM campaigns, and we can be adjacent to these keywords. So if people, see these keywords, reading an article, again, that banner is showing from the brand. From there, it says why this approach will be great for this core audience, how it aligns with the core audience and additional audiences from Ari. And then campaign inspiration, so that you're a good company. Google did a Super Bowl ad. Coca-Cola did a Super Bowl ad. So they Stella Artois. So you want to make sure that not only are you seeing what brands have done in the past, but what brands have done well in the past too. Optimal timeline for this alignment, and then here's the cultural sensitivity risk. So it's not as extreme because it's Super Bowl, but if you're going out there, there's just some 3 points that you need to see real quick that you want to make sure that you keep in mind as you're developing ads for this alignment.
Right. Makes sense. Very cool. Well, I mean, folks in the chat, does anyone have questions for Crystal about how the system works? Anything like that? I'll pull one up while we're waiting, see if anyone has any thoughts here. So let's see. I guess one of my questions for you is what the whole theme of this is AI and marketing. Obviously you've built a tool here that's incredibly powerful for targeting. Incredibly powerful. Has a lot of elements to it. What is your advice to marketers who are trying to use AI to speed up their process or use it in the best way possible, given all of the things that we talked about earlier?
Yeah, I would say my advice to marketers is that make sure that the AI platform that you're using, of course, I want them to use Ari, but if the AI platform that you're using is enriched with cultural and dynamic audience opportunities for your campaigns. If you're just looking at an AI platform that's giving you taxonomies that are already shelved in the system, so not using live data signals, then that's a complete waste. Those are outdated audience segments. Your audience last year is not your audience this year. And we've seen that, especially with brands making major mistakes when it comes to certain initiatives and boycotts happening at certain retailers, right? So we want to make sure we're making those decisions based on who we are. We're human beings, we're dynamic, we're not static. And also, we are also competing with so many different screens as advertisers to show ads on. Media fragmentation is a real thing. We have social media, you have CTV, you have tablet, you have one phone, two phones. So resonance truly matters, and you have to come out the gate strong. But before you do that, do due diligence to identify AI platforms that can culturally speak to your consumers.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. What about international? So let's say I wanted to run an ad campaign in another country. How well does this system work with that?
Yeah, it does well with that as well. So with international, you'll have to be very specific on the country. You can't just say Europe. I mean, that's very broad, right?
Yeah.
So just
because that's that would be like saying the U.S. and it is not.
Right.
We just covered earlier the difference between California and Boise, and they're pretty close together. You know what I mean? It's very different.
Very different. So just making sure that you're cautious about what you're putting in market internationally, because there are certain cultural aspects that sometimes as Americans we don't understand because we're not from that particular country. So making sure also you team up with people who have that expertise.
Yeah, that makes sense. It looks like we have a question from the chat. Jack says, how do you use your own product to grow and scale your company, I believe?
How to use your own product to grow on scale. So using Ari, really scaling is to identify audiences and new audiences. Some people are like, oh, my audience is 18 to 34, but not everybody deserves your product. Not everybody wants your product. So based on those live data signals, in order to scale, we have to be very precise when we are determining which audiences we should be using. And then from there, we can create lookalike audiences from those audiences to have even more scale for your campaign.
Right. And as far as like you using your own product, right? Like you're a chef, you eat your own food. How has Ari helped you?
So well, actually. So we actually put a report last week with the team, and I was like, okay, we now have a couple of new features. Let's see who we should be reaching, what type of content we should be in. And I was really amazed by the outputs because, you know, it was telling us that we should do certain unique things. So I'm not going to say because I might have competitors on the call right now or going to listen to this podcast. So I'm going to keep that to myself. But I will tell you of a scenario where we partnered with a telecommunications company for their prepaid division. And with that prepaid division, they've always reached households with parents who had kids under a certain age to add a second line, which was really inexpensive for them from a prepaid standpoint. However, we put that RFP through Ari. Ari said we need to be reaching young urban professionals who want to add a second line for business because they need that business phone for calling, texting, emailing, but don't want to add it to their personal line because it was too expensive to add another line. And I was like, oh my gosh, I might want to do that. I have a prepaid line to, you know, my phone bill. So we tested that audience out as added value first, and we saw triple-digit engagement rates.
Wow.
Mind blowing. Yeah. So then we rolled that audience into our overall investment plan, and we were able to use that case study to win the best AI tool by Digiday because of that.
That's awesome. Yeah. I was going to mention that award, but I didn't want to take too much time away. I had to cut all my intros like half as long. I overestimate how fast I talk sometimes. That's cool. I had another question. So when you're, I guess like from the design standpoint of how you built Ari, like when you're ingesting all of this information from all these different sources, how do you, without giving away any secret sauce, like how do you prioritize or pick which one is the most important, or like which information is most important? I guess
so on the back end, the coding, we make sure that it's very specific to ad tech and martech, and we let Ari do its thing naturally. So we don't tell it, oh, use this feature, use that feature. We make sure that it can use it organically to provide the outputs that we need to reach the audience. Also, part of the Ari platform, which I don't even go into, but is very important to mention, is that people know about Google, people know about Pinterest, but people don't know sometimes about the small to mid-sized businesses that are in the advertising ecosystem and that are helping brands reach their audiences authentically. So what's happening is that usually brands are like, okay, I want to reach an API audience. And yeah, I have a long sheet of different partners, but which one's the best for the campaign that I want to run? So now we've turned that very static sheet into a dynamic sheet where it's showing an RFP fit rating score for that particular publisher, content creator agency, or ad tech company that can provide authentic engagement with the audiences they're trying to reach and hit those campaign goals for the brand.
Awesome. Very cool. Very cool.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think we're just about it. Crystal, where can people try Ari? What's the link, and any parting words for everyone?
Yes. So if you want to have a demo of Ari, feel free to reach out to us. It's digitalculture.group. You can also find us on LinkedIn. I'm Crystal Foote, spelled Foote, and you can look at Digital Culture Group's page as well. So anyway, you can reach us and get your own demo. But thank you so much, Grant, for this platform. It was great to speak about Ari and Digital Culture Group and our capabilities.
Yeah, I like what you're building. I'm excited to keep seeing it grow, and I think it's definitely needed because someone could maybe ask some of these same questions to ChatGPT, but they just don't have the same functionality or all the integrations that you have with your other data. It's like how they don't even know how to organize it like this, I think. where you've got
Correct.
really
And
structured.
even with ChatGPT, I do not recommend any brand putting their brief in there because in ChatGPT or any AI platform will take that information and provide it to other users, right? So privacy
Mm,
is a concern when you do that. Also, ChatGPT and the other AI platforms are LLMs, like large language models. They are not hard coded for MarTech and AdTech. So they're not going to
right.
provide you the same outputs. And I actually tested that in a demo scenario with a brand and then made a fake one and asked the same question. And the output that I got from Ari was incredible, mind blowing. What I got from the LLM, another AI platform, I was like, this is not it. Like, I had to push refresh probably 100,000 times until I got the answer that I needed. And I didn't have time for that. So I was like, yeah, Ari's the best. We won.
Wait, I didn't have time to ask this. Is Ari a unique model? Did you train it
We
completely?
did. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. I mean, that we could have a whole conversation about that, like how you built it and everything.
Yeah. It's built from scratch at Digital Culture Group.
Wow, that's awesome.
Thank
Very
you.
cool. Well, thank you very much for joining, everybody. I want to thank all of our guests again. Crystal, thank you for the full
Thank you.
in-depth demo. I appreciate it, and really cool to learn about what you're building. And thank you to our other guests, Jonathan, and James. Glad everyone could make it. And yeah, any questions you have for everybody? Actually, Crystal, I see we have one more question in the chat here. We're going to stay on to talk about ChatGPT 5.2 garlic. So we'll go a couple minutes over. Is this something the end user marketing company would use, or is this something aimed at more at marketing agencies that they use for their clients? That is a great question.
Wonderful question. So this is used for all different positions, roles, as well as entities. So we work with marketing companies. We work with brands. We work with agencies and publishers. Anything that you're trying to really promote, whether that's a book or a beverage or even B2B services, Ari can be used for that. So don't think of Ari like, oh, only one team can use this or only one business type can use this. Ari is not to be put in the box at all. So we want to make sure that's very clear. And thank you for that question because we get that a lot like, oh, can the insights team use this? Can the creative team use this? Everybody can use this. This is something that we are creating for everyone to be on the same page when it comes to advertising and marketing to your audience.
Very cool. That begs the question: are there different user flows? Like, do you design differently for like a brand using it versus a marketing professional?
So the only really difference for now when it comes to brands is that they have a different consumer journey than an industry standard journey because of different types of milestones they need to hit as a brand for that audience. And so we do customize that consumer journey for particular brands, but for the most part, everything else remains the same. But it is
Got it.
customizable. So that's the beauty of working with small to mid-sized businesses is that where there are red tapes with larger enterprises, we can make things happen in 24 hours.
Very cool. All right. Thank you so much, Crystal. Thanks again for
Thank you,
joining.
Brad.
Thanks everyone for listening in. We're gonna take 2-minute break here so I can go eat some food real fast, and then
What's for lunch?
hopefully we could get Corey on the stream and he can join us when we test out GPT 5.2. So everybody stand by and we'll be right back. Are we back? Perfect. All right. I can confirm I have access to GPT 5.2 in the playground. So I'm going to share my screen here. Everyone, please share your prompt tests. Anything you want to see tested, share it in the chat. I will send all of it. Keep in mind, this is the playground, so it'll be over the API. It won't be as fancy as using it through ChatGPT, but I will keep refreshing my screen when it's actually available in GPT. So yeah. All right, let's share my screen here. I texted Corey. We'll see if he can join at some point. Okay, so as you can see, this is GPT 5.2, and there's a couple different versions. There's 5.2 Pro, 5.2 Pro 1211. I don't know the difference between those two things. 5.2 chat latest. I imagine this is the one that is in the chat that regular people will get access to. And then this is another variant. Interesting. Okay. I might have to do a little reading. This launched like literally right when we were getting on the stream. So I don't know everything about it yet, but we're going to mess around and find out. All right, let's try the Pro version. Let's see, developer message. I'm going to leave that blank for now. Let's do something I do quite often. I don't know if I'll be able to do it with tools. So just say like, help me write a treat to try about this tool. And then I'm going to I'll pull in AdOmni. So I'm going to include the link here. And then I'm going to just copy all the context of AdOmni's page in there. And then I'm going to give it my treat to try. This is something I've actually wanted to do for a while, is show you all this. So I'm going to go to my projects, treat to try, pull this up. This is my secret prompt here. And I'm going to go ahead and throw that in the chat. And then I'm going to say, follow these instructions for treat to try. And let's see how well it does. I think that should be good. You know what? I'm just going to throw it over here. That'll be easier. Okay, let me do this. Let me put it in auto clear. No imagery. Error while downloading. What? Oh, probably because it's over here. Let me just remove this. Okay. Put all this here. See if I can make this screen bigger. All right, it looks like we got our first user prompt. We'll test this as well. Waiting for it to respond. Incredible demand on this today, I'm sure. All right, I'll spin up another instance of the platform and we can test it. Also, keep in mind I use the Pro version, so this is like way overpowered than for what we need. Okay, let's see what it says. I'm gonna turn my screen off for 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Someone's coming home. Didn't want to put them on blast. Okay, so let's see. This says, below are a few ready-to-use drafts you can copy and paste. Pitch trying AdOmni, okay? Internal pitch, Slack teams. Hey team, I'd like to run a small pilot using AdOmni. All right, this didn't follow the instructions for the treats to try. Did all of that get copied over? Let's see. No, it didn't. So let me copy that over and send it again. So that's interesting. So basically what happened there is it inferred from the context that we were trying to pitch this company, but it didn't know what to say. So and it didn't know how I wanted to say it. So let me add my, let me test this up. I wonder if I can make this bigger. Yeah, there we go. All right. So I'm going to edit my prompt here. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to put in my treat to try, save that, publish prompt. I guess I could. If y'all want to promote your tools the same way I do. Okay, let's see now. How do I resend it? Maybe I'll just, what I'll do is I'll copy all of this. We'll just reload this page. And let's run it fresh. All right, let's send that. Now I'm going to run the other prompt. So this is the prompt, the user prompt. This is, you're an expert in compiling top AI articles. Summarize today's top articles in generative AI and theorize how they will inform the generative AI landscape in the next 2 to 3 years. This is fun. Let's see if AI can replace me, and then you don't need me anymore. For the record, I do test every new model that comes out to see if it can build an entire neuron from scratch. And so far, none of them have been able to do a perfect job. Can they do it? They can do it. Is it worth it? It's not worth it. All right. I can't directly pull today's articles because that's because I didn't give it. Okay, so that's because I didn't give it tools. So I would have to be able, I would have to give it tools here. So let me try this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it web search. And I'm not going to give it any restrictions there. And we'll set that. And then I'll save. Oh, saving always. The funny thing is I don't know how to edit this stuff. Okay, let's try it again. Let's do that. So now it should have web search and it should be able to search the web. We can see it thinking. We can see it searching the web. We'll go back and see how that treat to try did while this is loading. Okay, so it said AdOmni helps you plan, launch, and measure a full funnel video ad campaign across digital billboards, connected TV, like YouTube, Netflix, Prime Video, and mobile sites, apps, so you can reach people on the street, reinforce the message at home, and drive action on their phones. Okay, all right, not bad. And then I do an even shorter one. AdOmni lets you buy one campaign that shows your ad on digital billboards, then on streaming TV, then on mobile, so the same people see it across the day. That is not inclusive of what it does, so I would not use that one. But it was, yeah, it was good. It followed the instructions well. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so let's go back to the other one and let's see if it can replace, let's see if AI can replace me. So it says, I've gathered today's top articles. Okay, putting them together. All right, starting with OpenAI GPT 5.2. That's a good sign. OpenAI launched GPT 5.2, positioning it as a meaningful step for day-to-day professionals. I would say that's kind of basic overview. Disney invests $1 billion in OpenAI plus licenses major characters IP to Sora. Okay, that's the other big news from today. Using 200 plus Marvel, Disney, Star Wars characters. And then Disney sends a cease and desist. Yep. All right. U.S. state attorney generals warn major AI companies about chatbot harms. We covered that. Google DeepMind plans an automated science lab in the UK. That's cool. I didn't see that this morning. Interesting. How these 3 stories reshape the generative AI landscape over the next 2 to 3 years. So the frontier race will shift from best model to best product system. Arguably, I would say we're already there. We're definitely already there because, you know, like Alexander from OpenAI showed us last week. A lot of it is like harnesses, right? Like harnesses have a lot to do with like how well the system works, and you know, yes, the models are getting better, but the models are only one part of the application that you interact with. So, you know, it's not. I would say that, you know, we've been there for a while, where basically the product systems are larger than the models underneath. They're empowered by the models underneath. And like to Jonathan's point earlier, as the models get better, if your application is designed in such a way that it will benefit from those advanced capabilities, then the models will continue to give you more and more, your system more and more value. So it's an important part of the system, but it's far from the only element that matters. So I would say we're already there. Licensed IP becomes a competitive moat for generative media. Again, I would say this is also already, from context, something that's happened. So I wouldn't say this is like a big game changer there. Permissions, training, and provenance becomes the default enterprise posture. Yeah, this is interesting. So basically, Google, while licensing OpenAI as a preview of a broader pattern, enterprises will demand provable rights, training data permissions, output usage rights, indemnities, audit trails. This will push vendors towards clearer data lineage, opt-out handling, contractual content catalogs, and stronger provenance and watermarking for generative assets. I think that that's already where they are, but perhaps if you have a really big company like Disney sending you a cease and desist and suing you, like is the case with Midjourney and Google, and I know a lot of the big Hollywood studios have also been suing a lot of these companies. As we saw with Suno, which if you remember a week or so ago, Suno is the AI music platform. It was being sued by all of the Hollywood, or by all of the big music labels. Eventually they came to an agreement where they said whatever terms they needed to figure out, now they have access to license the content from all of the big music labels. I think it was just the music labels asserting maximum pressure, which they often do, to Suno to get Suno to cave and give them whatever terms they wanted to work with them. And then that basically is what happened. They eventually worked with them. As you can see, Disney is working with OpenAI, so clearly they're open. I think probably what's happening with the cease and desist is they're telling Google, time to pay up. So we'll see what happens there. It's interesting. Safety and compliance will harden into engineering requirements, not policy add-ons. Interesting. The biggest upside may come from closing the loop with the physical world. Yeah, I think that that's true. And there's it's not just DeepMind doing this. There's a lot of autonomous labs. I've been covering cloud labs since 2021, 2022, and that's a really big deal where you can basically conduct experiments remotely and have an automated lab do the whole thing for you. That's huge. So 2026, 2028 wave where generative agentic systems don't just generate text. The classic, they don't just X, they Y. That's a good tip for marketing. If you ever see that in any of your copy anywhere, delete it, because it is a surefire tell of AI bot speak. So fun fact, keep that in mind. Interesting. So AI designs, experiments run, results feedback, better designs. Yeah, definitely. All right, let's go back to this tab. Let's test something else. Does anyone else have other prompts? I'm going to do another one. Let's see. I'm just going to say, hey, GPT-5, 22, what's up, dude? Not much. Here, ready to help. What do you want to do? Chat, get something explained, or work on a task? Yeah. Let's test one of the different models. So I'm going to go back over to zoom out a little bit here. By the way, this is pretty cool if no one's ever used this before. So this is the create a chat prompt. So let's test it. Basically what I did is I selected a prompt topic, and now it is finding me festival images because the prompt was something travel related, I believe. Let's see, what was it? Oh, it was image generator or trip planner. Did I choose trip planner? Let's say, help me plan a trip to Switzerland this fall. zoom out a little bit so you can see it. And by the way, what's nice about this is that it's telling you what tools you need in order to pull this prompt off, and it's giving you suggested variables that you should capture to improve the prompt. Oh, and we actually are doing this through GPT-5. So let's go back over here. Yeah, there we go, 5.2. This is the basic 5.2. Let's test this with that prompt that I did before. You are an expert in compiling top AI articles. Let's try that. This is just a regular 5.2 that you're going to have access to. Oh, I forgot to give it. Sorry, I forgot to give it the tools. It needs web search. By the way, this is nice. So if you're configuring web search tools, you can actually go in here and give it only specific websites to use. You can give it, the country, region, city, etc. So that's very nice. So you can simulate what it would be like to search given these constraints here. So let me refresh this. Add this. Oh, add tools. Clicking through stuff too fast. Okay. All right. Well, that's going. Let me do a different one and do something fun. All right. We're gonna do GPT 5.2 Pro. So the most complicated, most powerful one. Let's say you are a quantum physicist. You are tasked with proving an impossible theorem. You may only use web search to figure out what you are trying to solve and how you will solve it. What do you do? Let's give it the tools. Let's just see what it does. All right, let's test on the other one, see how that's going. Oh yeah, okay, share this tab. Okay, so remember this was the regular GPT 5.2, not the Pro version. So, okay, so 5.2 is number 1. Disney invests $1 billion in OpenAI. That's number 2. Microsoft is rolling out GPT 5.2 into Copilot. Okay, good to know. Bipartisan coalition of U.S. state senators. That's also big. Disney escalates copyright pressure on Google. El Salvador partners with XAI for AI in public schools. That's really interesting. So I want to learn more about that. And then this is how the stories shape the Gen AI landscape over the next 2 to 3 years. The model war shifts from chat to end-to-end task completion. Okay, I could buy that. Yeah, I think anyone who does this well is going to really succeed in the in the agentic wars in 2026 for sure. But definitely just going forward, it needs to be able to do things all the way and complete them. Because right now we have the middle to middle problem, which is, say I want to use ChatGPT for marketing, for example. How do I get it to like start with my first task, which is, I'm creating a campaign. I need to create creatives. I need to, define my targeting. I need to do all this stuff. And then also then deploy it on all of the platforms that I'm trying to spend on and promote. So you need to be able to do all of that. And right now it only does the middle part. It can only create the content, or it can only, maybe it can give you a finished product, like for example, give you a finished deck or a finished image or a finished PDF, but then you still have to, or whatever, and then you still have to take that to the end platform, unless there's a connector that's set up for it, and not all of the connectors are set up to do the entire process. So the middle to middle problem is the thing that needs to get solved. So yeah, I buy that. I think that that's a good, a clear insight there. Distribution beats demos. The default model will be chosen by your platform. Interesting. Microsoft rolling GPT 5.2 into Copilot as a template. AI becomes a subscription feature embedded into the software budget. That's already been going on. License IP becomes a first-class feature. Yes, that I believe is definitely a big deal. Copyright conflict doesn't go away. It bifurcates into licensed lanes and unlicensed lanes. Yeah, I think that's an astute observation. Safety regulation moves from principles to operational compliance. The AG letter suggests near-term pressure from concrete measures. Okay. I mean, yeah. I don't think that's going to happen. No offense. No offense to regulators. Public sector educational deployment scale fast, but will drive standards for evaluation. Happening already. Not new. Okay, so AI cannot replace a full-time thinker yet, because it's not pulling in the context from everything that's happened before and building on it and trying to figure out, okay, what is actually the net new thing that's happening today versus yesterday. So my job is secure. That's good to know. Let's see how this other one went. Oops, I brought my stream down. By the way, I'm just only going to stay on for like 5 more minutes unless anyone wants to see anything specific. Okay, this is the one from before. Let's see. So you're a quantum physicist. You're tasked with proving an impossible theorem. You may only use web search to find out what you are trying to solve and how you will solve it. What do you do? Use web search to identify what the impossible theorem likely is and what impossible means. Okay, physical no-go theorem, perfectly clone and unknown quantum states. Okay, so it's kind of reasoning through things here. So my first action is search for the exact statement I'm supposed to prove. Okay, so it's going through, pin down the theorem precisely. Impossible claims are almost always assumption sensitive. Okay, search for whether the impossibility is already known and what kind it is. Interesting. Decide which of these 3 outputs is actually possible and honest. So you got to prove, it's saying it has to first prove the impossibility, then it has to produce a conditional proof by changing assumptions, and then it has to prove independence or unprovability relative to a formal system. And then it has to write the proof in the style matched to the category. Interesting. Okay, so I think it has created a great plan there. I'm going to say, okay, now go do it. See what happens. In the meantime, I thought of something else I want to test. So let's just go back to this tab. We're going to refresh here. And I am going to, let's see, code interpreter. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Variables. No, I'm not going to do any variables. I'm just going to give it, I'm going to give it web search. Yep. Can't do any connectors. I am trying to create a website with AI, and I want a good prompt that will work as a spec sheet I can use with Codex. Please help research the best practices for this task. as of December 11th, 2025, and compile them before incorporating them into your prompt. Send that. So remember, this is the basic GPT 5.2. I'm actually going to pull up, because I have not even had time to read the full blog post that they released. So I'm going to pull that up right now. Let's see what this thing can do. All right. So earlier I wrote the whole article for today based on just the API sheet that was out. So let's look at this. Already, the average ChatGPT enterprise user says AI saves them 40 to 60 minutes a day. And heavy users say it saves them more than 10 hours per week. By the way, public opinion poll, would you say that's true? Does everyone agree with that? Let me know. All right. GPT 5.2 sets a new state of the art across many benchmarks, including GDP val, which, for people who don't know, that's basically is AI actually making an economic impact on GDP based on tasks that impact GDP. So it's showing it against 5.1, and that is like a freaking huge leap. Almost double. Slightly less than double. So slightly better on Bench Pro, which is software engineering tasks. Better than Claude Opus on Bench, which is probably why they released this. Let's see. Science questions, it's at a 92%. We'll put that to the test with this quantum physics prompt. Scientific figure questions, okay. Competition, I mean, math is solved. Okay, cool. But sorry, high school level math is solved. Frontier math is still at 40.3%. 14.6% is really advanced mathematics. Oh, I see. There's different levels of frontier math here. Let's see. Abstract reasoning. Okay, 86.2%. That's a pretty big jump from here to here. I'm not. Yeah. And by the way, this is for ArcAGI. So ArcAGI is like a test that tries to prove generalization, which is how the model can generalize when put in a new scenario. Yeah. So then ArcAGI 2, it's at 52%. And we're now on ArcAGI 3 for people keeping track at home. And it's pretty much an entirely video game based benchmark at this point, which is pretty cool. Okay, they've got a lot of customers using it. Good for them. Economic valuable tasks. This is showing its ability to create spreadsheets comparatively. Specifically, a workforce planning model, headcount, hiring plan, attrition, budget impact. Pretty good. So this is, you have to be plus, pro, or business or enterprise to use this, by the way. Okay, so here's where we're at with GPT 5.2 thinking extreme high. Extreme! Right on. In Bench Pro, a model is given a code repository and must generate a patch to solve a realistic software engineering task. Okay, so not only is it supposed to understand this code repository, it must now generate a patch for that existing repo. That's good, because understanding complicated code bases is probably like the hardest problem for these models right now. So that's an attempt to try and test that. Ocean wave simulation. Ooh, that's quite nice. Then they've got a bunch of industry quotes from folks. Everybody loves it. Factuality. Ooh, this is interesting. Okay. GPT 5.2 thinking hallucinates less than GPT 5.1 thinking. On a set of de-identified queries from ChatGPT, responses with errors were 30%. less common. For professionals, this means fewer mistakes when using the model for research, writing, analysis, and decision making. Very important. So this is reducing the mistakes from 8.8% down to 6.2%. It's pretty good at this point. Reasoning effort was sent to maximum available and a search tool was enabled. Okay, so putting this in context, you want to always, and I think right now GPT usually defaults to web search for most tasks, but you want to always, like, anytime you're dealing with any factual stuff, number one, have the AI use web search to actually look up the latest information on this point. And number two, physically check that yourself. So not only do you want the AI to go research, you want to then go double check to make sure what it's saying is actually correct. So this is saying that basically it gets to 6.2% errors only if you're using the maximum reasoning and a search tool is enabled. So keep that in mind. Long context. This was the big one to me. So we could test this in theory on here, but I'd have to find like a massive PDF. Maybe I can. Longest PDF known to man. In fact, why don't I ask actually the chat that? Let's see. Okay, so this is where I asked it to. Okay, this is interesting. So this is where I said, I'm trying to create a website for AI and I want a good prompt. So it looks up how the best practice is for working with Codex as a spec, going from working with Codex to go from spec to working website. So it says here, make the agent efficient, point it right at the code, bake in definition of done. So what actually a done website looks to you. Prefer smaller slices, so break it up into smaller tasks. That was a piece of feedback we gave everybody yesterday. Persist your rules with agents.md global. Yep, that's what Alexander taught us on Friday. Control risk with approved models, with approval modes. Sorry, read that wrong. Okay, anyway, so it has all these lists, and then it created this, and it turned this into the prompt. So this is basically what we're going to use for the spec sheet. And then it says build a website that, and then fill it in. Target users, primary users, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. So this would be like a good template that we could basically use in the future. So why don't we go ahead and save this? The only thing I don't like about prompt templates, they're just so long, and not all the time do you need all of this information, but sometimes you do. So it's good to have it and I guess delete it, but sometimes you don't need it. Now, saying that, I also have a prompt that is 26,000 characters, but that's because it has all of my previous writing examples in it that I will send to Gemini, since Gemini was famously the one with the best long context for a really long time. So on the long context topic, 400,000 characters, you can roughly equate tokens to, let's say, like words. So 400,000 tokens context, is about 75%, 80% words. So maybe that's like 375,000 words, something like that. So it's pretty massive. I mean, that's like 2 or 3 books worth of context that you can send now, which is pretty great. So I'm going to copy this prompt that I have here. I'm going to go ahead and save it. And then I'm going to go back to where we are. I'm going to refresh and I'm going to ask it using web search. So I'm going to add the tools. I'm going to add web search, yada, yada. I'm going to use, I don't know the difference between these two. I'm just going to do this one. And then I'm going to say, find me the longest PDF known to man. Just go ahead and give that. Oops, spelled it wrong. It would be interesting to know if it got that right, but the only thing is I don't know how to rerun it from here. It's not simple. Okay, just do this. Find me the longest PDF known to man. We'll see how it does it. While that's happening, I'm going to go back over here. This is the oh. So this is a problem with the platform. It created this brilliant strategy for how to solve this quantum physicist problem, and then I was like, "Go do it!" And then it had its catastrophic forgetting because it had auto clear on. Whoops! I'm just gonna say, "Go solve a previously unsolvable quantum physics problem." What? Like it's hard? And we'll see what it does. All right, so now we go back to the model page here. See what else we can learn. So long context, this is what I was talking about. So GPT 5.2 sets a new state of the art in long context reasoning, achieving leading length on OpenAI NRCRV2. Geez, I don't know what the heck that is. And a real world task like deep document analysis, which requires related information across hundreds of thousands of tokens. GPT 5.2 thinking is substantially more accurate than GPT 5.1. The first model that we've seen that achieves near 100% accuracy on the 4-needle MRCR variant out of 256K tokens. So let's see a chart and see if this makes sense. Okay, 4 needles, GPT 5.2 thinking. It's pretty consistent across the board. And you can see compared to 5.1, it goes way down once you get into the 128,000K area. So what that means from a practical standpoint is, let's say you upload like 130,000 words into your prompt window. It's not going to be able to track information. Like it's not going to be able to find a needle in a haystack, let's say, in all of that information at that level with like over 50% reliability. And then that goes down the closer you get to 256,000. Now it's able to do it 40% of the time, it seems like, which is not bad, but it's also not great. Whereas I know from experience, Gemini is not perfect, but it is really, really good at that particular problem because of specific things that Google has done. And it could be related to their harness. I'm not sure, but I'll have to dig into that a little bit more. Now, this is 8 needles in long context. So before, I guess they're tracking 4 specific things throughout this context, looks like. And then here, they're tracking 8. And so it's, it's definitely not as strong as that, but 70% of the time it's able to track it, or 70%. That's pretty good. Let's see if I can read this, kind of understand. Okay, so again, use the max reasoning version available to you. That's the advice I'll give you there. Let's see. For tasks that benefit from thinking beyond a maximum context window, it's compatible with our responses compact endpoint, which extends the model's effective context window. This lets, and by the way, that's referring to compaction. And compaction, what it basically does is, let's say you're getting to the end of a really long chat window that you have. Compaction makes like essentially a small version of it to feed to the model to restart the conversation that tries to capture all of this information, all of this context, so that you continue the conversation without it, 1, forgetting things, or B, being so bloated that it's just unused. I mean, it would forget in either scenario, so that's why that's important. Speaking of that, let's try and put that together. Oh, find me the longest PDF known to man is just stalled out. Let me try it again. Unless he's still thinking about it. Maybe he's still thinking about it. We'll let that cook for a second. Okay, vision. It's our strongest vision model yet. So this is referring to how well it interprets images. Cutting error rates roughly in half on chart reasoning and software interface understanding. That's huge. For everyday professional use, this means the model can more accurately interpret dashboards, product screenshots, technical diagrams, and visual reports. Big, big, big. It's a pretty big leap. I mean, at this level, it's relatively big. This one's a lot bigger, though. From 64% to 86%. Let's keep in mind, How long ago did GPT 5.1 come out? Like not that long ago. So all things in perspective. Okay. Screenshot Pro. All right. This is an example where it's, I guess this is this showing what the AI is seeing? Interesting. Okay. Tool calling. This is if you're trying to create an agent or use an agentic system where the AI is calling different software tools and interacting with different softwares. This is where this comes into play. So GPT 5.2 thinking achieves a new state-of-the-art 98.7% on Talbench for latency-sensitive use cases. Also performs much better at reasoning. Okay, so if you remember, Talbench is terminal related. So this shows you how the different versions perform. So this is extra highs at 82%. No, just I guess basic version of 77. Extra high is 98% over here. Cool. This translates to stronger end-to-end workflows, such as resolving customer support cases, pulling data from multiple systems, running analyses, and generating final outputs with fewer breakdown between steps. Cool. So this shows you an example here. So in this case, it's running a triage agent. It starts with the tool call and then the output. And then here we have GPT 5.2 doing the same thing. Much more robust, it seems like. I'd have to dig into that, but that would be a little boring. Science and math. One of our hopes for AI is that it will accelerate scientific research. So it's doing really, really well on science problems. Speaking of that, let's check on how this guy did. Okay, so I can't honestly claim to solve a previously unsolvable quantum physics problem on demand. If it's truly unsolved by the field, a chat isn't going to settle it. That's fair. What I can do is pick a famous unsolved quantum problem and give you a concrete testable candidate path solution. Here are 3 good targets. Pick one. The measurement problem, quantum gravity, or high temperature superconductivity. If you want me to go do it right now without choosing, I'll take the #1 measurement problem. Okay. So I have auto clear off, so let's should work, but to be safe, I'm going to copy all of this so that we can pick up where I left off. Okay, I'm going to say now go do it. See what it does. All right, let's go back to this one. So longest PDF known to man. Okay, this is what it found. There isn't a single well-defined record. You can make arbitrarily huge PDFs either by page count, millions of pages, or by page dimensions, one page that's absurdly large. Here are 2 extreme, well-known downloadable options. Alex Chan generated PDFs where a single page's dimensions exceed common viewer limits. I don't know what that is, though. I'm not going to download that. The universe? Okay, interesting. A smaller Acrobat limit version is here. A straightforward 10,000 page PDF. Okay. PDFsample.com. That's probably more sketchy than Alex Chan, though, to be honest. Now that I'm rethinking this, let me think of, okay, here's a good one. I'm gonna do ITER report, climate report. Or no, ITER, I don't want to do nuclear. What's the big climate? Massive climate report. PDF. Okay, climate change 2023 census report. This is 81 pages, 88 pages, 91 pages, 120 pages. Let's do this. Oh, 150 pages. Thank you, Department of Energy. Let's do that. Okay, so what I'm doing, share this tab. So I've got a critical review of impacts of greenhouse gas emissions on the climate. I'm going to go ahead and copy paste all of that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and share this tab. And I'll be like, tell me everything this report says with my favorite line, if you can guess it, with 100% fidelity to the details involved. Well, boom. The fact that 22 of you are still here is awesome. Thank you. I don't know why you're not saying anything, but it's okay. It's fine. I get it. I completely understand. So we're really going to put this long context to the test. I'm going to check to see if it's actually live in my ChatGPT account right now. Still not. Still not. Because then I test some of this more like coding related stuff. But for now, we're just going to keep testing it in the platform. Okay, now back to our quantum physics problem. I can't make an unsolvable problem because solved by declaration, but I can do it in the only honest sense here. Produce a fully specified falsifiable candidate resolution of the measurement problem. Below is a worked testable route. Mass density, continuous, spontaneous localization. Okay. That turns superpositions into single outcomes. Okay, so then it goes into the math. And then it gives me more math. Math. Okay. Here's the experiment you'd actually run. Okay. Generic levitated nanoparticles. Interferometry sequence. You trap and cool the nanoparticle, then you release it into free fall, then you apply a beam splitter operation. This could be totally okay. I'm assuming that this is grounded in science, but from my understanding of quantum physics, which is like nothing smaller than a quantum particle, this could be complete Star Wars jargon to me, and I have no idea. Which is funny because some people are saying that they're like learning new science, they're creating new science with this, and some of them are not scientists, so that's I'm sure that there's a lot of misunderstanding there. But this is fun. Okay, so I'm gonna say like, what is the most complicated thing you can do with this right now to impress me and blow my socks off? Let's see what it does. Meanwhile, we still have our report is generating, so we'll wait on that. I'm going to go back to this tab. So frontier math, we kind of covered that earlier. Essentially, this is hard math problems. ArcAGI 2. This is like the test that's supposed to test generalization in a model, which means like if it's seeing a novel situation for the first time, how well is it able to adapt and learn and solve the problem in that situation? Okay. And then they've got their safety stuff here with lots of links. I'll be looking through later. And then the system card, which I shared earlier, that has a lot of more interesting stuff in it. We're in the early stages of rolling out our age prediction model so that we can automatically apply content protections for users who are under 18. Okay, that's cool. Mental health evaluations, this is big. Don't know what any of these numbers mean. They could have provided a little bit more context there. That would have been helpful for people. Like, cool, 0.995. Does that mean it's like 99.5% safe? Interesting. Okay, availability and pricing. So they're rolling it out today with paid plans plus Pro, Go, Business, and Enterprise. It's not as of 2 p.m. Pacific Standard. It's not on mine. And then API pricing. GPT 5.2 Thinking is available today. And then it's priced at $175 per 1 million. It's pretty good. 14 from 1 million output. It's pretty high, but that's makes sense. 90% discount on cached inputs. Okay, so that means cached inputs means like something that you use a lot. For example, like this PDF, which let's see if it's still analyzing, so I won't tab over there. If, for example, I'm referencing that PDF a lot, that's a cached input. So it doesn't, it's not going to charge me for sending that every time. It'll charge me 10% of the cost for that. While ChatGPT subscription pricing remains the same, the API GPT 5.2 is priced higher per token than GPT 5.1 because it is a more capable model. Makes sense. It's still priced below other frontier models, Google, and Claude, which is really expensive. So people can continue to use it deeply in their daily work and core applications. All right, there you go. Oh yeah, and then they break it out. So this is how much the cached input would be. All right, so then they give a shout out to the homies who helped them get here along the way. And then this is just detailed benchmarks going through all of it. Cool. All right. Well, that's everything you need to know about GPT 5.2. We're at the hour point, so I think I'm going to stop this now. I'm just going to go ahead and share. So I said, tell me everything this report says with 100% fidelity. Oh, wait, sorry. I pulled my stream down. Looks like my browser lost. No one can hear me. Maybe. Just gonna go ahead and share my screen one more time. Okay, so I don't know if you can hear me right now, but I can't deliver everything the report says in a single response, and I also can't honestly guarantee 100% fidelity. I respect that. Do you want me to reproduce the report verbatim? Verbatim reprint? Okay, so that gives me the exact same thing. Or exhaustive section by section digest. I'll say exhaustive section by section digest. And then on the quantum physicists one, just to close the loop. Okay, so now go do it. Where does this conversation? Oh yeah, what is the most complicated thing you can do with this right now to impress me and blow my socks off? I can do an end-to-end research-grade workflow in one go. Take a foundational quantum problem, write down a precise, falsifiable model, design a realistic experiment to test it out. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and save that. I'm going to publish it. I'm going to say quantum physics test. I'm going to publish it. And I will share this with y'all later in tomorrow's newsletter. And anyone with any sort of quantum physics understanding can go ahead and test that out. All right. Thanks to everyone who stayed on an extra hour. Appreciate you. This was fun. When we actually have the access to the full ChatGPT in ChatGPT's web version, we will definitely come back and do a lot more testing. We'll also have Corey here, and Corey has a lot of tests that he loves to do that I think will be really engaging and fun. So we'll definitely do that. But thanks again for everyone tuning in. Thank you to our guests, Jonathan, James, and Crystal. This was really fun 3 hours. So thanks everyone for tuning in. And until next time, I forget what